Chapter 61-Good Guy. Zanyi began to answer the question. The most striking feature of the Will of Fire is that it tightly connects all people together, and it is a gathering of the villagers' desire for peace. Konoha ninjas should resolutely implement the will of the 3 generations of Hokage, and take the Will of Fire as their personal action guide, unswervingly participate in the glorious cause of defending the village, endure hardships first, and play an exemplary and leading role in war, village protection, and execution of tasks. We have the confidence and determination to carry it out to the end. This made those examiners who went around and looked like they were inadvertently looking at them, like they were struck by lightning. Dude, I'm so direct, dude. Is this the strength of the first person in theory? I didn't think much about it, just raised my hand and pen, and the wonderful pen made flowers. Such words, such expressions, are simply impeccable. Many examiners glanced at it with complicated expressions, and then left silently, with some doubts about life. Kufu, Zanyi has already answered the last question, but I. With a broken face, Obito stared blankly at the blank test paper, almost crying. The next moment, a paper ball was thrown over, and it was Lin who was assisting him. Lin, my goddess. Obito was very excited, opened it quietly, and then copied it frantically. The examiner's face darkened and he was about to come over, but Zanyi suddenly raised his head and looked straight at him. The examiner's expression froze, and nodded knowingly, as if nothing had happened. At this time, many people have no longer endured and decided to use ninjutsu to cheat. Goal is exactly, Shweni, the first person in theory. Copy this guy's exam papers, it's reliable. Swish. The bad bug of the Oil Girl clan sneaked up onto Zanyi's table and was pinched to death by Zanyi. The dog of the Inuzuka clan was lying on his head and was about to bark, but the next moment, he didn't know what he felt, and suddenly urinated and shivered. Tianwo-san in the mountain, after receiving the gesture from Asma's eyes, directly used the technique of turning around, trying to seize Zanyi's body and peek at the exam questions. But at the moment when his spirit dived into Shwanyi's spiritual world, endless darkness struck. What's going on? Tianwo-san was dumbfounded at the time, staring blankly at the endless darkness. Vaguely, a pair of terrifying eyes opened a gap and glanced at him. Just this look made his spirit hit hard on the spot. Puff. Tianwo-san spat out a mouthful of blood with a look of horror on his face. What's wrong? Several examiners stood up immediately. No, it's nothing, I'm a little sick. Tianwo-san suddenly lowered his head with a look of horror on his face. The technique of turning one's heart around is a family secret technique, and it actually fails directly. And I just got my eyes on it. Could it be that Zanyi's mental power is also terrifying to such an unmatched level? The bad end of Tianwo-3 made Hong, who was hesitant, even more afraid to move, and his body was cold. Damn, what the hell is going on? Asma gritted her teeth, but still refused to admit defeat. He quickly answered the 5th question, which was about the elimination of blood, and Asma did not know about this question. As long as I answer the 6th question, it's fine, isn't it just a discussion? I have memorized everything that guy wrote in the past, and studied hard for 2 days and 2 nights. Shiranui Shwanyi's routine has been thoroughly understood by me, Sarutobi Asma. War causes disaster and death, which is contrary to the will of fire. Looking back on the history of building the village, I have a deeper understanding of the value of Hokage as a jade, and I am more determined that the inevitable result of Konoha village's realization. Asma finished the writing quickly, sneering again and again. This is the routine he summed up by studying a lot of what Zanyi has written in the past. First, the theme is directly deducted, and then it is explained in a special language system, and finally it is sublimated and finished. After writing this, the old man was afraid that he would have nothing to say, although he felt disgusted by blowing Hokage. But that's it. Asma handed in the papers and walked out of the classroom with confidence. But when the theory test results came out, Asma was struck by lightning. Shweni has a perfect score, ranking first. Tsurubi Asma, second to last. What? How could this be? Sarutobi Asma was extremely annoyed. I tried so hard, why did I still fail? Ha! I worked so hard and it really paid off. I took the last place. A loud cry came. Obito looked delighted. To be precise, he was not even number one, because the prefix of his name had the words, passed by candidate. The existence of the only one has attracted Kakashi's mockery. Sarutobi Asma left in a rage. This middle school and rebellious guy, full of unwillingness, rushed directly to the Hokage building. I want to see Zanyi's exam papers. Sandai Hokage sighed and threw the exam paper in his hand to him. Asma, blind imitation has no practical meaning at all, only the frame has no soul. This is. Asma looked at the last question with dismay. Is this something a human can write? Pooh. Why can't I compare to this guy? Asma said angrily. Asma, don't talk to your father like that. Asma's mother, Lake Biwa scolded. Third Hokage sighed. Asma, for the village, the most important thing is never Hokage, but the will that everyone can recognize and follow. You were wrong from the beginning. Hee, is it a boring political trick again? Hokage-sama, even to your son, you are still so hypocritical. Asma slammed the test paper onto the table and ran away. Lake Biwa worried. What should I do? Asma is becoming more and more rebellious. Well, he has gone to a paranoid extreme, but one day he will understand. The will of fire. Asma doesn't understand at all. In this point, he has completely lost to Zanyi. 3 generations of Hokage smoked a pipe. Father and son are always at the two ends of the contradiction, and the most troublesome is undoubtedly the contradiction in thinking and cognition. After being silent for a while, the 3 generations of Hokage picked up Shwani's exam paper and savored it carefully. Okay, so it can still be like this. The second exam was a practical class, and there was no turbulence. It passed easily and swept all the way. All who met him, all abstained. Anyway, in this way, I can be regarded as Chunin. Zanyi looked at the announcement indifferently. Chunin. Basically, as long as you pass the theory class, you will become a Chunin. Come on, Kazu, it's time to find a solution to your problem. Zanyi spoke lightly, a glint of light flashed in his eyes. I think you're ready. Yes, please Zanyi-san, do it anyway. Even if it fails in the end, I have no complaints. Yue followed behind Zanyi, and the special pair of 2 Go Jade writing round eyes had already appeared. Hiss, more than once someone complained about the protagonist's name. Do you think I should change the protagonist's name? Take advantage of the fact that there are not many chapters and there is still time to save it. Should Shweni be changed to Schwanjing or something? Chapter-62-Human Experiment. The two came to the secret laboratory again. The environment is relatively rudimentary, but it is impossible for me to take you to the Roots laboratory. Zanyi opened a sealed scroll and summoned a large amount of experimental equipment. These are all smoothed out from the root. Yue has already consciously lay on the experimental table, with a pair of 3-hooked jade writing wheel eyes, slowly spinning. It doesn't matter, I don't care about this. I'm not even afraid of death, and I won't care about these details. Zanyi glanced at Wei while preparing for the experiment. Those are very beautiful eyes. Similarly, those Guyu are also slightly dim, and they seem to maintain the state of appearance, which is extremely reluctant. Elder Shanna is so optimistic about you, he must have prepared something for you. Zanyi checked the experimental equipment and said. Azanagi, Elder Shanna, gave me this forbidden technique that can rewrite the reality of fate, at the cost of blindness. In fact, as long as Zanyi-san wants to know, I can say. Azanagi, so that's the case. Then you can use it now. Using 2 eyes in exchange for 2 more opportunities for experimentation is very worthwhile. Even if you lose both eyes, the elders will think of a way to give you the opportunity. Get new eyes. Zanyi spoke calmly. Is it Azanagi? Rewriting reality into illusion is indeed an incredible technique, and this technique also involves some very interesting speculations. In the limited monthly reading, Uzumaki Myanmar is the villain. In the infinite monthly reading, Uzumaki Naruto has become a wave of wind in Myanmar. These two are logically illusory worlds. But Izanagi was able to turn reality into illusion, and return the positive gain effect into reality. This is very interesting. In this way, the plan of infinite moon reading has gone wrong from the beginning, and the practice of pulling everyone into the world of illusion is really boring. It is better to use infinite Izanagi from the beginning to rewrite the reality of the entire ninja world, covered countless times with a whole new reality. Quote, to do this, although it is more difficult to execute, is definitely more practical than the false piece in the illusion, and it is whimsical to save the prince and the others being angry. However, the transformation of reality and fantasy, something like Izanagi. Zanyi looked at Kazu, who had started to silently nod, and started to seal Kazuki to activate this forbidden technique. How long does Izanagi last, and how bad does your body have to be to rewrite reality? Kazuki was silent for a while, and then said slowly, there is about a 5-minute gap between the launch and the rewriting of reality. 5 minutes. A short time, but give it a try. Xuanyi thought. In the original work, the Sengo jade transplanted by Danzo is 60 seconds, the Sengo jade transplanted with soil is 600 seconds, and the eternal eye of Madara is a few days. This kind of art that can even rewrite the fate of life and death. It is simply a divine weapon when used. But unfortunately, this almost perfect technique, apart from the cost of abolishing one eye, actually has a crucial problem that is not a problem. Chakra. Every time you rewrite reality and revise your own destiny, you can restore memory, body, and soul, but there is only chakra that cannot be restored no matter what. Those chakras that are lost are really lost forever. This is very interesting. Chakra comes from the combination of body and spirit, and then chakra is truly consumed, and the body and spirit return to their peaks. What is the conversion? Have these chakras been consumed and fed back into the initial energy of the body and spirit? He. Zanyi couldn't help but chuckle. He became more and more curious about Izanagi's technique. Maybe, you can find an opportunity to ask Danzo teacher for some writing wheel eyes and give it a try. Yue, your physical condition has gotten to an extremely exaggerated level. A large number of cells in the body are dying, and the cancer cells are proliferating wildly, but they are dying one after another. Zanyi checked for a while, then spoke lightly. Then what is the reason? What is the cancer cell? Essentially, this is the key to eternal life, but with a curse like poison, it is an appendage of mine. Without my power, there is no such thing in your body anyway. Nuclear radiation is the root cause of Yui's current situation. 2 years of madly eating radiation, madly stimulating the body, squeezing the full vitality of every cell, causing countless cells to die violently, just in exchange for a moment of brilliance. Now, even Izanagi's taboo technique, betting on 2 writing wheel eyes, has to fight for the future, such a guy. It's really amazing, but a crazy person can enjoy the crazy and shining moment as much as possible, but in the end, it may not be able to have a happy death. Zanyi looked at the report in his hand and said lightly. Bad, very bad. This body is simply shocking. Everywhere is cancerous. Cancer cells chaotically devour everything and devour the life of the host. Moreover, Yue does not have the ability to control cancer cells at all, and cannot convert cancer cells into a reservoir for refining infinite chakra. I have an idea to transform your entire body into an appendage that belongs to me. Zanyi looked at Yue. In Yui's body, there is a trace of the blood of the Otsutsuki clan, which is the most stubborn bloodline that penetrates into the deepest part of Yui's gene. He is not interested in digging up the genes of the Otsutsuki family, but he is very interested in research and preservation. Otsutsuki is the strongest Hokage clan. How does it compare to my Godzilla? Zanyi chuckled lightly and immediately started. Now, you need to collect some experimental samples and extract some chakras. The art of psychic. Somewhere in the ninja world, a guy covered in bandages was walking on the ground with a gloomy face. The bastards of Konoha still have the heart to chase and kill me at this time. Bei Liuhu was extremely annoyed. He slowly raised his head, revealing that slightly weird face, slightly uneven. At first glance, it seemed to be the product of the failure of the film. Beluhu stroked his face, feeling his body gradually calming down. Fortunately, after this period of hard work, the strange cells in my body were finally suppressed. Bei Liuhu's face was gloomy and uncertain. Since the attack on Xuanyi and Obito failed, he has been implanted with cancer cells, and there has been a terrifying proliferation of flesh and blood. He fled all the way and spent a lot of time, using the technique of Gui Yaluo, trying to devour and decompose these cancerous and proliferating flesh and blood. Losing Zanyi's spirit and chakra control, the cancer cells became less crazy, giving Bei Liuhu a chance to calm down these cells calmly. But bad. Why? My Gui Yaluo technique devoured these cells, but failed to get any valuable blood. Not to mention extracting massive amounts of chakra like that kid. What exactly are these cells? Bei Liuhu stepped on the muddy ground, scolding, "Damn nuclear escape kid, next time I see you, I will definitely kill you." The next moment, a powerful time and space fluctuation hit. The Art of Psychic. Chapter 63-Hell Future. Bei Liuhu was originally a ruthless character. In the original book, he relied on the technique of Gui Yaluo to devour the steel escape version of the Hunter, the quick escape version of Yi Kang, the dark escape version of Zhangji, and the land escape version of Troy. Declare war directly on the 5 major countries, and start the 4th Ninja World War with one's own power. But now, this guy is infected with Zanyi's cancer cells, and he is destined to not have that kind of future. The Art of Psychic. The next moment, Beluhu appeared in the dim laboratory. "Long time no see, Lord Bei Liuhu, you are still alive." Zanyi smiled. Quote exclamation mark. Bei Liuhu was shocked and angry, and was about to burst out with terrifying power, but the next moment, Zanyi directly formed the seal. Zzz. The cancer cells in Bailahu's body quickly ran away and began to proliferate wildly, turning Bailahu into a fleshy mass once again. Damn, what the hell are you trying to do? The proud Kiryuhu collapsed. It's just that I need to collect some experimental data, and I'm going to extract some chakras from Senior Piliuhu. Zanyi cut off the flesh and blood on Bei Liuhu's body, and after observing it, he smiled. Really? Beluhu's body is being eroded and replaced, and thanks to the technique of Gui Yaluo, he can delay this process, but cancer cells have actually invaded his body. What's more interesting is that these foreign cancer cells secrete special proteases that interfere with and destroy other healthy cells, causing the healthy cells in the body to become new cancer cells. This infective assimilation characteristic is very similar to the column cells, and it is very similar to Kagaya Otsutsuki, who bound a large number of humans to the sacred tree, and finally transformed them into Baiju. That's it, that plan can be established in theory. Senior Beiyuhu, give me some of your chakras. The next moment, Zanyi immediately began to control Bei Liuhu's body and frantically extracted a large amount of chakra. This violent manipulation caused Beluhu to let out a shrill scream, so much so that his spirit was pulled by the new chakra produced by cancer cells and participated in the production of chakra. A large amount of chakra was extracted into Xuanyi's body. Then, Zanyi directly lifted the psychic technique and removed Bei Liuhu. I have tried to touch cancer cells and leukocytes, but the result is that these two cells with strong vitality and erosiveness, with extremely similar characteristics, exhausted their energy in the mutual phagocytosis and died, and the DNA chains of both sides were completely crash. Zanyi lowered his head and looked into Kazu's eyes. So, the route of injecting white cells has been blocked for you. Even if you can be completely cured, the battle between the two cell systems will destroy your body. The few healthy cells make you disqualified from continuing to be a genius ninja, or even die on the spot. Quote. Kazu smiled and said, although I don't know what the white cells are for, what is your plan? Abandon white blood cells and replace them directly with my cells. Let me be your external source to control the deterioration and proliferation of cancer cells. With these chakras drawn, plus the chakras of the two of us, it must be enough. Kazui, remember, no matter when, don't stop refining chakras, use your chakras stimulate as many cancer cells as possible. Quote. That guy in blue who has the ability to devour other people's blood and follow the boundaries, which is equivalent to taking other people's DNA and merging it into your own DNA sequence. What you have to do now is to actively use chakra to link cancer cells while preventing yourself. DNA is eroded and destroyed. Quote. Zanyi put his hand directly on Yui's chest, and a large amount of chakra surged wildly. At the same time, Zanyi also directly implanted his own cancer cells into Yui's body. You belong to the Uchiha family, with ancient blood flowing in your body. This is the essence of an unshakable and powerful gene. Whether you can survive or not depends on whether you can stimulate the power of the original gene. Zanyi spoke lightly. Countless cancer cells, after entering Yui's body, immediately began to proliferate wildly, and, in a violent manner, assimilated the original cancer cells in Yui's body, and immediately invaded and assimilated towards the few healthy cells. Kazuki let out a painful roar, and his entire body shook violently. With the influx of terrifying chakra, the proliferation rate of cancer cells is exaggerated, and the intensity of the invasion suffered by Kazu is far greater than the original Biruhu. Feel this power, remember how you felt when you opened your eyes, and search for your most essential sleeping gene. Zanyi activated the turbidity absorption technique while observing Kazuki's state, especially focusing on the special pair of writing wheels. Datangmu Yuya, but at the beginning, it evolved directly from the three-hook jade to the reincarnation eye, without the process of kaleidoscope and eternal kaleidoscope. In the later Uchiha ancestor Indra, the highest is only three-hook jade. There is no such thing as a kaleidoscope. He can use the three-hook jade to activate the complete body Suzanengu. And at Yui's place. As for this bleak Sengo jade, 80% of the time it was forcibly turned on because the excessive radiation stimulated the sleeping gene. Normally, she will never be able to open her eyes in her life. The high-level bloodline belonging to Otsutsuki Yui is the key to turning the rotten into a miraculous one. The key to unlocking this key lies deep in Yui's genes. Although it is impossible to determine how many ancestor genes are left in your body, even a trace is enough. Yue will either be swallowed by me or find the ancestor genes to counter my power. Zanyi put his hands on his shoulders, leaned aside, and waited quietly. Kazu, who had already turned into a giant squirming meatball, almost disappeared even the screams, because the mouth has been assimilated and submerged by the proliferating meatballs. 5 minutes later, Izanagi activated, and reality was rewritten. Kazu returned to normal again, and one of the writing wheels had turned gray. Quote. It seems to have failed. Zanyi nodded. Yue took a deep breath. No, it's not a failure. I roughly understand what Zanyi Sang means. Use the sleeping genes hidden in my blood to build the core of resistance to erosion, and then Zanyi Sang will take control to form a stable. That's right, but the premise is that you need to continue to activate this indestructible and powerful ancestor gene, otherwise you can't resist it with your own DNA power alone. Zanyi chuckled lightly, his eyes deep. Cancer cells are extremely vicious monsters. They not only assimilate healthy cells into cancer cells, but also steal DNA mitochondria from healthy cells. Then, when his cancer cells, under the stimulation of his chakras, proliferate, and at the same time, Aehui's chakras link to his cancer cells across the mind and matter, and establish a channel. The source blood of the Uchiha family, whether it is Indra or Otsutsuki Yui, is the DNA of these guys assimilated and eroded by him in silence, or is it stimulated and forcibly activated? Now that you understand, start the second experiment. Don't forget the lessons learned just now. Kazu, remember what I said, you are a genius, and you are unique in using my power. Genius. Yue, with a special physique, can apply radiation to himself and stimulate the power of sleeping genes. The second human experiment begins. And this time, Zanyi increased the total amount of radiation output. Using the attitude of killing Yue, he shot countless radiation particles into Yue's body. This made Kazuki even more painful, and the entire DNA almost collapsed under multiple attacks, but in this desperate situation, her unique talent broke out. The kind of persistence that is not reconciled to mediocrity is even madness, and the chakra born with this spirit, at this moment, begins to use the double-edged sword of radiation to the maximum. Every second is a race against time. It's going to be 5 minutes. Zanyi frowned, and immediately released it. In the center of this meatball, a powerful chakra burst out, with a gloomy coldness, along with roars, unprecedented power emerged to fight against the thief-like cancer cells. This kind of extremely cold, deeply ominous chakra. It seems to be a success, and the only remaining eye is saved. Zanyi suddenly laughed. Has the sleeping gene close to the source of Uchiha finally been activated by this alternative genius? Just like when she forced her eyes to open. Kazu, you are a true genius. However, after becoming my subsidiary token, you are in hell every moment, and you can only survive if you work hard all the time. Otherwise, you will either be swallowed up by me or your genes will collapse and die. Are you really ready to embrace such a terrifying, hopeless, life-worse future? Thank you again and again for the leader of the big boss. Zhejiang will be served after it is put on the shelves. Now the public period has to be recommended, so it is not easy to explode. Chapter 64-Madara's Illusion Attack. Kazuki stood up and looked at herself with the only healthy writing wheel left. A healthy body, a terrifying physical strength, a steady stream of chakras. She felt that she was different, although cold and ominous, constantly emerging from the depths of her body, but at the same time, the sense of power was real. The whole person ushered in a sublimation. This is my body. Kazuki murmured in a low voice. No, you're wrong, this is my body. Zanyi leaned against the wall and smiled faintly, at least most of it belongs to me. Most of the flesh and blood that builds your body and maintains your existence belongs to me. Yes, although this body feels strange to me, it is so healthy and strong. Zanyi-san, you have created a miracle. Kazuki whispered, trying to refine chakra, and even this chakra became specious. It seems that with the characteristics of Xuanyi. Don't think about it, most of your current body is made of my cancer cells. Use my cells and your spirit to refine chakra. Zanyi chuckled lightly, feeling very happy. The current Kazu is similar to Obito, who was smashed half of his body and replenished with Shirai cells. There are 2 cell systems in the body, both of which can be used by her to produce a large amount of chakra. The only difference is that after all, cancer cells are the exclusive property of Xuanyi, full of chaos and disorder, and require Xuanyi to intervene and control regularly. Once Xuanyi let go, Kazu would turn into an out-of-control monster. She will always be a subsidiary token of Xuanyi. Yue twisted her hair subconsciously, covering the shattering eye that had lost its color, took a deep breath, and smiled. Anyway, I survived, thank you so much, Zanyi-san. But I also wondering, what would happen if the second experiment failed again? If you fail again, you will be blind in both of your 2 swivel eyes. Either transplant a new swivel eye and continue to gamble on human experiments, or you will die. Zanyi turned around and walked out of the laboratory. In fact, he still has a card, but it seems that it is unnecessary to use it now. When the 2 walked out of the laboratory, Elder Uchiha Setsuna is waiting silently. After seeing the 2 of them, he nodded coldly. It seems to be a success, and it only consumed 1 eye. Xuanyi Shiranui, this kind of kindness, the Uchiha family will not forget. Zanyi said, don't be so polite, I'm just doing what I need to do. In addition, if this experiment fails, what will Elder Shanna plan to do? Lead the entire Uchiha clan to fight the root. Swish swish. More than a dozen root ninjas appeared behind Zanyi, and the eyes behind the masks were staring at Elder Instant. As long as Zanyi gave an order, these root ninjas would not hesitate to attack moment. They are mission machines without feelings, and there is no hatred for Uchiha, but they will obey Shueni. Suddenly, he said slowly, "No, if Kazu dies, it's just that her life is not good. The Uchiha family is the backbone of Konoha and will not take the initiative to do things like infighting. Zan Yi-song, leave it to me." Kazuki smiled and supported moment. The two of them left at a slow pace. Zan Yi looked at the backs of the two, waved his hands, and many root ninjas quickly disappeared. If, the radical who left his name in the original book, he hasn't understood my signal. Then this guy is a piece of trash. Shueni sneered, and then started to wander slowly in the Uchiha clan. "Yo, Uncle Hand Roast, give me a barbecue pork." Zan Yi said hello. The hand-fired couple, also one of the few Uchiha clansmen who left their names in the original work, were a couple who often greeted Urzuzi when Urzuzi was a child. "Hey, Zan Yi, I haven't seen you for a while, you are now an amazing Konoha genius." With a sigh of relief, Shoushou immediately prepared a serving of char siu and handed it to Zan Yi. "It's all for the sake of the village." Zan Yi smiled and handed the money over, walking slowly while savoring the food. At this time, a memory suddenly came. This is the memory of my shadow clone. Zan Yi moved for a while, and the disbanded shadow clone sent back his memory. Obito's grandmother seemed to be dying, she said she wanted to see him before she died. As the elephant turning technique finally unable to hold up, Zan Yi quickly ate the food in his hand and rushed to Obito's house. Obito was not here at this time, only Shuani's remaining shadow clone was waiting for Grandma Ban. Boom! Zan Yi directly disbanded the shadow clone. "Grandma Obito, you called me here in a hurry, is there something wrong? No matter what your will is, I will carry it out to the end." Zan Yi's expression was solemn and even more sad. Grandma Ban's eyes slowly opened a little, and looked at Zan Yi indifferently. Obito opened the Ergoyu writing wheel eye. "Thank you very much, although this is not in line with my plan." Grandma Ban opened her mouth slowly, and she was very angry. It's too outlandish for you to say that. I also very much hope that Obito will become stronger. After all, he is the younger generation that your old man values very much." Zan Yi opened his mouth with a smile. "It seems that you noticed it because of the Baiju who was killed by you. It's not a good thing to be too smart. Before your power reaches a certain level, you have to know how to pretend to be confused. As for how much you noticed, I will check it myself. And then decide whether to control your mind and leave you to Obito, or kill you outright." Madara's eyes slowly widened, and a burst of pupil power with an astonishing sense of oppression hit Zan Yi. The drawing wheel eye pupil illusion came suddenly, and in an instant, it seemed as if the whole world was left with only the spinning three-hooked jade writing wheel eye. Chapter 65-Planet Godzilla. A three-hooked jade, pupil power has reached an exaggerated level. The rotating three-hooked jade seems to have replaced the world itself, and it is constantly enlarged, filling the vision of everything. "Be my puppet, kid." Madara opened her mouth indifferently, using the few chakras she had left in her body, intending to use illusion to control Zan Yi. For him, this is very simple. He can control a tailed beast with one look, not to mention a mere kid. The huge pupil power turned into an illusion, and rushed into Zan Yi's body with a bang. Now, let's find out how much this kid is aware of. Suddenly, Madara's movements stopped, and a deep look of astonishment appeared on his face. A trace of his chakra, carrying a part of his spirit, directly entered in a huge dark world. A terrifying but indistinct, big guy who was completely invisible, was half asleep, overlooking him as small as an ant. It's a bit like the time and space where the tailed beast is sealed, but how can there be such a thing in this little ghost? Is it a special psychic beast? Some kind of demon? Or the embodiment of the mind? Chakra aggregates. Madara has returned to her original form of incomparable old age, and now she looks up with a surprised look on her face. Compare quickly. In the ninja world, there are indeed many strange things, such as the death god of the Whirlpool family, and the existence of the evil god. At first impression, Madara thought that the living creature in front of him should be one of these ghosts. Soon, Madara's face turned gloomy. No, some qualities of this thing are no less than my outsider golem. Outsider golem, but the shell of the 10 tails. At this time, Madara's pupil power was still rolling in, which successfully attracted the attention of this behemoth. Call. Godzilla opened his mouth unconsciously, the terrifying suction triggered a terrifying hurricane, and then Zebra was swallowed. PFF'd. Outside, Madara's body was distorted, signs of instability appeared, and her spirit was traumatized. Originally, this body, if you cherish it, can maintain a lifespan of 2 months, and now there are only a few dozen minutes left. Is it a monster that devours spirit and chakra? It seems to be no less than a tailed beast. Madara sat on the bed, feeling the sudden collapse of herself, slowly moving her eyes, staring at Zanyi coldly. From beginning to end, Zanyi maintained a calm attitude and waited quietly. Little devil, what was that just now? Madara asked directly. Godzilla, Senior, that is my companion beast, Godzilla. Zanyi smiled. Associated beast, Godzilla. One body with 2 sides, so it looks like you have become a guy similar to human pillar force. Madara pondered the word, which he had never heard of before. If you remove the vague resemblance to an outsider golem, Madara wouldn't even bother to take a look at an unknown giant beast. Such a beast, although he doesn't know how strong his strength is, he is confident that if he is at his peak, he can be hanged with one hand. Has Susanoo seen cutting? Beating a tailed beast is the same as beating a sun, understand? It's very similar to the outsider golem, but it's not a chakra aggregate, but some kind of real living creature. Madara squinted her eyes and thought. As expected of a senior, this is not dead. I am more and more interested in you. I don't know what you have to do with Obito. Maybe I can help. Zanyi always stood neither humble nor arrogant. Similar to an outsider golem. Of course it looks like that. The outsider golem is like the expelling shell of the divine tree, which is essentially a plant. As for the Godzilla in his body, since the slightest signs of awakening appeared, Zanyi had initially established an intermittent and unstable spiritual connection with this Godzilla. Godzilla, which one is it? Old Void Godzilla, or Planetary Godzilla? It is the unique one that expelled all 3 cosmic civilizations, including humans, and transformed the ecological environment of the entire Earth with its own power, so that everything on the entire Earth lives because of it, and makes hundreds of millions of lives because of it. Existing. The strongest Godzilla. 300-meter-high terrifying individual who once came from the cross-dimensional dimension reduction, Ghidorah, the strongest Gold King in history, and had a brief confrontation. Compared with other Godzillas, Laoshu Godzilla is not only terrifying in strength, but Ghidorah, who has faced off against him, is unbelievably powerful. The speciality of Laoshu is more reflected in its origin. All other versions of Godzilla, whether from prehistoric titans, or from sea creatures that evolved wildly, can all be classified as animals. The old virtual Godzilla is more powerful, it is a special plant. And it's a plant that can walk, jump, think, split sub-body, fuse inside the body, radiate endless radiation clouds from the outside, and open its mouth to zoom in. A plant. Have you ever seen this plant that is more animal than animal? Oh, there is a similar one in the ninja world, the 10-tailed sacred tree. It's really funny, kid. Facing me, you should feel awe and fear, instead of taking the initiative to come up. There is no place for you on the stage 1 planned. Madara spoke indifferently. Zanyi stepped forward, smiled and pressed Madara down, carefully covered the quilt, and said, the cells of that white thing are very similar to the legendary Mudden's body cells of the first Hokage. Powerful pupil power. Although it is ridiculous, you are probably the legendary Madara Uchiha, right? There is no place for me now, and there will be in the future. How do you know if you don't try? I will not let go of all possibilities that can lead to permanent peace. I am walking on this road myself. Eternal peace. Greedy kid, wait until you survive. Now, I'm running out of time, bring Obito here. Madara took a deep look at Zanyi. The murderous intent in his heart did not diminish in any way. This little devil with a strange psychic beast in his body is not easy to twist his will, and there are very few fools like Obito. However, perhaps an interesting tool as well. Zanyi nodded slightly, walked out of the room, separated several shadow clones, and went to find Obito's whereabouts. Peace, in this ninja world full of turmoil and slaughter, it is really a sad word. Madara's method is doomed to fail, and she was backhanded and turned into Kagaya's resurrection. Zanyi chuckled lightly. Since the birth of ninjas, they have developed all the way to the present. In just a few thousand years, ninjas have embarked on a bloody and irreversible path. If the path belonging to ninjas or immortals of the six paths failed, it would be better to change to a brand new path. One, completely different from the ninjas, and even from the Otsutsugi clan, is full of unknown paths. Maybe it can be done if I'm in charge. Zanyi casually touched his stomach and stood there, waiting patiently. Chapter 66 rushed to the east. The grandmother with soil died. With tears streaming down his face, he buried his last relative with his own hands. Everyone is going to die, Obito, life is reincarnated from generation to generation. Zanyi patted Obito on the shoulder and sighed. Obito didn't even know that he was now crying for Ban's grave, and even the corpse buried there was nothing but a disguised Baiju. I know, from now on, I have no relatives. Zanyi, do you really think there is a pure land in this world? Is there really a place where my grandma can rest in peace? Obito's eyes were swollen from crying, and he covered his face with his hands and cried. The pure land, of course it exists. All the souls of this world will go to that place. Maybe you will meet again in the future. Zanyi comforted. In the Pure Land, there are not only grandma with soil, even the immortals of the six paths live there, and all the dead souls, together with the vanishing chakra, finally converge to the Pure Land. Regarding the Pure Land, Xuanyi has always had a speculation that if chakra is recovered, the chakra of the undead in the Pure Land is obviously an inescapable link. However, as to whether this speculation is true or not, Xuanyi needs to go into the Pure Land and take a look to confirm it. If true, it would be so much fun. Pure Land. Obito clenched his fists and muttered softly. By the way, Obito, before Grandma left, did she tell you anything? Zanyi seemed to speak inadvertently. Ah, I did say a lot. Grandma is vigorously accusing the ugliness of this world. Maybe I read too many papers written by you, Zanyi. I think Grandma's writing skills are so bad, I don't have many fluctuations in my heart. Woo woo woo. Grandma Ban. Gone. Zanyi patted Obito on the shoulder again and again with a look of relief. Very good, such Obito is a qualified owner of the Will of Fire. After the funeral, Zanyi took Kai and Kazu and walked peacefully on the streets of Konoha. Kazu, you changed your hairstyle. Covered one eye. Kei pointed at Kazu, keenly spotting the blind spot. Yue smiled and nodded. It's boring to always keep a hairstyle, right? Zanyi sang. As you like. Zanyi replied casually, we are all Chunin now, and we should still form a team to participate in new wars. I heard that the war on the front line is getting worse and worse. In the ninja school, another batch of fourth-year graduates are sent to the battlefield. Quote. The war is cruel, but it is the stage for Zan Yisong to display his talents, isn't it? Knowing Xuanyi's will, Ichiki covered her mouth and chuckled. Since her human experiment was successful, she temporarily got rid of the struggle between life and death, and her whole person became much more cheerful. Every day, her vitality is surging wildly, and the cancer cells in her body are constantly proliferating, which can bring her a terrifying amount of chakra. Now, with Kazu's chakra volume under normal conditions, Shengnan was directly hanged and beaten. And as long as she thinks about it, she can completely extract a chakra amount comparable to an elite Jonin, or even a koala beast, despite the risk of losing control. Again, the only risk is getting out of control, stimulating cancer cells too much, and terrible things will happen. If Zanyi was not by her side when she was out of control, once she broke through a certain boundary, Kazu would become a disorderly and chaotic monster, losing herself forever. By the way, didn't Elder Shanna make up for what you lacked? With your aptitude, you can now carry my power without limit, and even go a step further, but Shanna didn't express it. Zanyi asked casually, and at the same time he was too busy to buy some balloons to play with from the street vendor, blowing one, and pinching one. Well, I can do it anytime I want, but putting on other people's eyes always feels a little weird. Kazuki said with a smile. Zanyi nodded. That old man at that moment seems to have some ideas, such as the kaleidoscope writing wheel eye and the like. He must also know the method to open the eternal kaleidoscope. But don't think about that for now. Zanyi took a deep look at Yue. That night, Zanyi came to the root's base. Danzo stood in the shadows, waiting for a long time. This man with a cane in one hand seemed to bear the endless darkness behind him. I heard about it. You carried out human experiments on Kazuki, and you almost had a conflict with the old thing. Danzo spoke gloomily. Zanyi nodded. Don't worry about what happened in the moment. An old dog with half his body crossed into the coffin. If the teacher thinks it is necessary, I can make him disappear now. HMPH, as expected of this old man's disciple. Danzo nodded in satisfaction, although Xuanyi's words showed a strong personal will, which made Danzo, who was used to being in charge of the life and death of his subordinates, instinctively feel a little uncomfortable. But this kind of attitude, this kind of awareness, this kind of concept that is so similar to him. Very good, Rigian, fortunately I didn't give this kid to you, he was born to be an old man. The Uchiha family, from birth to death, is full of sinful blood, even my teacher, Hokage too, is full of disgust and disgust for them. You can use them at will, but you can't get close to them, don't cross this line. Tuanzang said indifferently. Zanyi agreed with a smile, and said again, Tanzo-sensei, don't you want to ask me, what kind of human experiment did I carry out on Yue? Based on your knowledge reserves and what you have in your hands, it must be related to your radiation power. Danzo shook his head. Your bloodline is indeed strong, and you have plenty of chakra, presumably your cell activity is also high. It's very different from ordinary people, but the old man has no interest in your body. Danzo is very confident. Even if your physique is comparable to those of the Chinsho and Uzumaki clansmen, what can you do? This old man holds something far beyond your imagination. Zanyi nodded again and again with a look of awe, as if in awe of the teacher's unfathomable abyss. Danzo stared at Zanyi for a while, then nodded with a sneer. No matter how strong Xuanyi's physique is, he is still at the level of a whirlpool clansman. How could he still be as strong as a column? As long as there are intercolumnar cells and enough writing wheels, he will have the ability to die. Rigen's side has already issued a new mission. To completely solve the war on the Eastern Front, Konoha has no energy to continue fighting on the Third Front. The old man has officially promoted you to Special Junin, Shiranui Shueni, as the old man's disciple. This time you will go to the east to fight against Wuin. I will assign you a route team, and you can choose the other Junin. Danzo slammed the ground hard. Your contemporaneous, Iroha Hyuga, will serve as the vice captain of your squad. As soon as the words fell, a masked root ninja knelt in front of Zanyi on one knee. Chapter 67-Fuyu's decision. During the Eastern Front War, Konoha and Kurikan were in a state of anxiety. The Uchiha clan and the Hyuga clan, the two giants of pupil art, have mainly squatted on the East Front for the past 4 years, fighting with the Misty who came from across the sea. Iroha, long time no see, I haven't heard from you since graduation. Zanyi looked at the root ninja kneeling in front of him on one knee. After graduating, I was spotted by Danzo-sama, joined the root, and has been performing tasks as root. Iroha slowly took off his mask, revealing an expressionless face. The calm and proud boy of the past has been completely smoothed out of all edges and corners, and he has become a tool person who has lost his emotions. That's it. No wonder. I still remember the wonderful showdown between you and Kazu during the graduation test. Zanyi couldn't help shaking his head. Then from now on, please give me more advice, I can use it. Close your eyes. Hyuga Iroha agreed with a blank expression. The task he received was to protect Shweni Shiranui at all costs. The members of the former wealthy family now have to work hard for the rear end of the crane in the former combat class. When Shweni walked out of the root base, behind him, there are already 11 root ninjas, and these can be said to be dead men. As long as Zanyi thinks, he can issue any order, even to let these people die. Counting me, there are 12 people in this team, and a few more. The next morning, all the squad members assembled and 3 others were added. Kazu Uchiha, Matekai, these 2 reliable guys needless to say, and does Mr. Dai want to exercise today? Zanyi, leading many ninjas, stood at the gate of the village and said with a smile. Oh, it's not really an exercise, I just did 1,000 push-ups to warm up. Thank you Zanyi-san for your trust and willing to take me with this Wanian Jinin. Dai threw his arms and bowed suddenly, tears welling up in his eyes. Yes, I didn't pass the Chunin exam of Mat Dai, but it's not that he was beaten down in the actual combat test, mainly because he didn't enter the second round of the actual combat test at all, the first round of the written test. Beat him to death. Ah, just a trivial matter. Zanyi waved his hand. Although he is much stronger now than he was 2 years ago, he still needs an extra layer of insurance when facing those guys from Wuyin this time. Mat Dai, in the past few years, Ruoyu Ruowu has been acting as his guard, and now he just continues this mission and position. There are 15 people in total, all of them are here. Then, let's go, our mission is to clean up the Kurigakushi team that infiltrated the Country of Fire, and then head to the southeast of the Country of Fire to set foot on the front line against the mist. Swish swish. One after another, the figures moved quickly, following Zanyi through the dense forest. A team of 15 people, directly supporting the front line of the war, is already a force worthy of attention. 4 years of war, Konoha used all the fire country, together with the ninja power in the hands of the daimyo and nobles from all over the country, and barely mobilized 17,000 ninjas, and the fighting has dropped by 50%. Quote. In Zanyi's mind, he quickly recalled the secret information obtained from the root. Very miserable, even if Konoha sits on the most fertile land in the entire ninja world and has the largest population, it is already overwhelmed. You know, 10 years ago, Konoha had lost a lot of money just after World War II. Not to mention, among the less than 20,000 ninjas, many are ninja guards mastered by daimyo and nobles, and their strengths are uneven. In addition, in the huge Country of Fire, the so-called ninjas, who are stationed in various prosperous cities and towns are not even in the mainstream, and they may not even have the quality of ninja. From the outbreak of the Third World War to the present, Konoha has always been in a bad situation of 1 to 3, and he has almost bet everything. This time, the village has made up its mind to completely solve the threat of Wuyin, deter Union who is about to move, and end the war on the Eastern Front. Along with the movement of Xuani's team, in the forest of the Land of Fire, the many Wuyin teams that had sneaked in to do damage were attacked by a powerful force. The screams rang out one after another in the Konoha forest. This is already the second fog-hidden team we found, and they actually let them infiltrate here. Zanyi took action and sent out a super vibration wave, destroying everything in front of him 100 meters away, and blasting several lurking Wuyin into pieces. All around, his team members had already spread out, chasing and killing the misty hidden people who were quietly surrounding him. In a short period of time, 2 teams have been killed by them. State your battle plan. Zanyi sat on the ground, looked at the misty ninja who was caught by Dai and Kai, and spoke lightly. Hey, stop joking, the ninjas in the blood fog are not afraid of death, do you think we will be as weak and ridiculous as Konoha ninjas? Ha! I personally killed a rookie kid on the front line not long ago. That kid is talented, just graduated, right? Crying and begging me to spare his life. The Kurigakushi ninja spat out a mouthful of blood and grinned. What a stupid guy. Kazoo. The three-hook jade in Yui's eyes spun rapidly, and the huge chakra poured out, instantly controlling the enemy. Dive into the country of fire, explore Konoha's garrison, and do as much destruction and massacre as possible. Click. Zanyi took action and twisted the Wyan's neck. Let's go to the front line, let the Misty Hidden team infiltrate this kind of place. It seems that the situation on the front line is not very good. Zanyi gave the order. A group of people abandoned the corpses on the ground and rushed to the frontline camp quickly. At this time, Kai chased after him. Zanyi-sung, what the enemy said just now. Well, it's probably the freshmen who just graduated. They were sent directly to the front line. Zanyi shook his head. There is no way to do this, not to mention the world of ninja of. Not to mention this Naruto world with the energy of chakra. War. Such a bad thing. Zanyi muttered in a low voice, and in the whistling, he accelerated the speed, and the entire team accelerated in an instant in silence, and ran directly to the front line. Southeast of the Fire Nation. The battlefield between Konoha village and Wuin village has always been filled with endless bloodshed. The main forces of the two major pupil families have gathered here. For 4 full years, this southeastern corner has exhausted the blood of the two major families. All the men, women and children of the whole family, who can breathe, have to walk around the battlefield. Lord Fuyu, those guys from Wuin have launched an attack again. Lord Nizai has also been attacked, and we are temporarily unable to support. A communication ninja knelt in front of Fuyu and said anxiously. I understand, let's start to meet the enemy, use our 200 or so Uchiha clansmen to kill all the opponents. Fuyu slowly raised his head, and the 3-go jade writing wheel spun, but there was a terrifying pupil power that far surpassed the ordinary 3-go jade. Chapter-68 _ the Shweni squad joins in. Hey, it's you again. Konoha's people are all dead, and only Uchiha of Huodun is sent to fight our Kurigakura. It's ridiculous, using fire ninjas against our Kurigakushi is really bad. Thank you for your bloodline, if it wasn't for Shiranyan, you would have been killed by us long ago. A series of cold voices sounded one after another. A lot of bloody figures all over their bodies emerged from the sea. The Kurigakushi ninjas sneered one after another, and looked at these damn Uchihas with fear. It's really difficult to write round eyes, dynamic observation, chakra perspective, illusion attack, the power of this kind of eyes is simply unreasonable. Are you coming? A bunch of unstoppable slugs in the water. Fuyu stood at the forefront, looking at these guys with a cold expression. He had too many clansmen and died in the hands of the Kirigase ninja. The whole family was seriously injured. Because of the order of the village, all the men, women and children in the clan, who could breathe and refine chakra, were all sent to the battlefield. Now, there are only 200 people left in the entire Uchiha clan on this battlefield. At this time, a 10-year-old boy next to Fuyu whispered, Patriarch, the number of enemies seems to be a little abnormal. Well, Shishui, remember to protect yourself later. Naoya, stay by my side and prepare to help me with your eyes. Fuyu gave the order. Naoya Hyuga nodded solemnly, put down his backpack, and stood solemnly behind Fuyu, ready to fight to the death. Although these two major pupil families do not like each other, they all claim that they are the #1 wealthy family in Konoha, and they all claim to have the strongest eyes, but during the war, the estrangement is temporarily put aside, and the first priority is to join forces to kill the enemy. The two sides gradually approached and saw each other's faces, full of endless killing intent. Go! A fierce battle broke out. The Uchiha family, once again, confronted these guys who came across the sea. Fire escape how fireball technique. Fire escape fire extinguished. A large amount of fire escape technique spewed out, but in an instant, it was covered by the surging water escape, causing a huge cloud of steam. Everyone remember to stay away from the sea and be careful of their silent killing techniques. Naoya, report the enemy's location in time. This time the enemy is a bit aggressive. Fuyu roared loudly and rushed forward. As the patriarch and the commander of the troops, Fuyu was always at the forefront. This is Uchiha. PFF'd. What? The fierce battle broke out, and soon, some people fell down screaming. All kinds of escape techniques were constantly flying on the battlefield, and every moment, life was fading. But it is obvious that in the ninjutsu fight, the Uchiha clan fell into an absolute disadvantage, and only covered and buffered them with fire escape at the beginning. After that, almost no Uchiha clan used fire escape ninjutsu again. Use the fire to fight the water, that is the head iron. What's worse is that, except for a small number of Chunin and all Shang-nin, those Uchiha people who belong to the lower ninja don't know any other attributes of ninjutsu at all. They can only use the fire escape technique inherited from the family, and it is conceivable how difficult it is to be in this kind of battlefield. Fog hidden technique. Some Kirige's ninjas gave out cruel grins and joined forces to launch the hidden Kurijutsu. In an instant, the huge fog mixed with chakra spread wildly. It's here again, silent murder. Fuyu gritted his teeth, and it was this technique that became the reason why the village drove many of their Uchiha clansmen, who only knew how to escape, to fight against Kurayan. Shakers don't have the ability to see through and can't see through the chakra fog, but their powerful dynamic vision allows them to react quickly and counterattack the moment they are assassinated at close range. But this is still very embarrassing. Many people who have not opened their eyes do not know how many people have been assassinated. Straight. Within a radius of 100 meters in front, there are about 80 people. On the coast to the southeast, there are still a steady stream of enemies appearing. The number of landings has exceeded 300, and it is still growing rapidly. I will see further. It's unclear, these chakra fogs interfere a lot with my vision. Ziyao narrowed his eyes, tried his best to see through, and said reluctantly. Just like this, it has already exceeded our strength. Fuyu threw out a large number of shuriken, and used the technique of shuriken to kill 2 Kurigakushi ninjas. Hearing that, his face was extremely ugly. Different from the past. Mizuki is a different deployment from the past. It seems that there is a new war plan. Is it possible? Fuyu's face sank, and he immediately dispatched a clan to rush to the east camp to ask for help from Jiraiya. At the same time, he ordered to abandon this temporary stronghold and retreat inland as much as possible, delaying time. With the strength of the Uchiha clan and the Hinata clan not far away, it is very difficult to fight against so many enemies. The casualties are increasing over time. Ninjas with Sharingan can say that they can protect themselves in the thick fog, but those who have not opened their eyes can only gather together and passively endure terrifying assassinations. Swish. Die. This time is different from the past. We want the territory in the southeast of the Fire Nation. A Kurigakushi ninja suddenly emerged from the thick fog, instantly assassinated a Uchiha clansman, and was about to retreat. Don't try to escape. Fuyu let out a low roar, the writing wheel in his eyes spun rapidly, and in an instant, he activated an illusion, forcibly controlled the opponent, and threw out Ku to kill. But similar things are happening one after another. The dense fog and water escape are constantly weakening the power of the clan and killing the clan. In just such a short time, more than 10 people of the Uchiha tribe died, which made Fuyu's heart bleed. Lord Fuyu, the number of enemies has increased again. Also, it seems that other strongholds have been attacked similarly. Hinata Naoya suddenly roared. The next moment, his head was chopped off, and the moment his eyes were gouged out, he was automatically destroyed. Sure enough, they are separated from the family. It is really difficult to get a second eye. Al ruthlessly kicked Naoya's corpse away with the white eye he had snatched away, feeling a little regretful. Hyuga's white eyes are much more strategic than a writing wheel. Ching, are you the guy who led the team? It seems that this time I don't use some means, I can't take the clan to get out safely, and I still use that thing. Fuyu listened to the roars and screams coming from all around, and was silent for a moment. The pair of three jade eyes in his eyes, but unknowingly, rotated more rapidly, and a terrifying pupil force made Qing's complexion change slightly. What's the matter with this deeply ominous feeling? Qing instinct felt a shudder. Such terrifying pupil power. Ji Shui, who was struggling to kill the enemy, was suddenly shocked and looked at the patriarch. Fuyu's three-hooked jade, vaguely, seemed to be constantly approaching, but it is like an illusion. Just when this sense of oppression was about to reach its peak, Fuyu was forced to expose that technique. Suddenly, an astonishing roar suddenly hit, and a huge shock wave, accompanied by a roar like a tailed beast, blasted away a lot of fog in the heights, and the aftermath of the slight leak made the fog sparse. A lot. A dozen figures suddenly landed around Fuyu. Lord Fuyu, the Konoha Xuanyi team is here. Zanyi fell to the ground with one hand, formed a seal with the other, and landed instantly. Chapter-69-Nuclear Escape. The technique of erasing the original writing. At the critical moment, Zanyi came with his team. I didn't expect to catch up with the enemy's massive attack. It seems that the opponent is planning to fight a decisive battle. Zanyi slowly raised his head, looked at the misty ninja who kept coming, and said lightly. Xuanyi, did the village send you to support, but now is not the time to chat, let's retreat. Fuyu glanced at Zanyi, then looked at Yiwei and nodded. Of course he recognizes his own genius. Xuanyi-sama, be careful of Wyan's silent killing technique. These guys are hiding in the thick fog to carry out assassination. It is very difficult to deal with. Zishui on the side raised his voice and looked at Xuanyi with burning eyes. Silent killing technique. I understand, I'll treat you to a drink when I go back. Zanyi glanced at Zishui, nodded slightly. Is this guy the depressed Zishui? It seems that the Battle of Fame was at the end of the Third World War, and on the battlefield against Korean, the name of Shushin Shishui was laid. Snapped. Zanyi slapped his hands abruptly, and within his body, there were immediately huge radiation particles, which began to spread wildly, and quietly mixed into the thick chakra fog. Master Fuyu, take your team to fight and retreat, time is on our side. Although the enemy's troops are much larger than ours, it is not that there is no chance of victory. Zanyi made a seal with one hand and spoke lightly. The terrifying radiation continued to flow forward, and it was closely combined with the thick chakra fog. Some of the nearby Kirige's ninjas felt a little discomfort first, with fever all over their bodies, decreased body functions, and dizzy minds. Is this the ability of your nuclear escape and blood to follow? Some kind of cell-level chakra poison? No, it's more subtle than cells. Fuyu turned on the three-hooked jade, and with super strong pupil power, observed the chakra flow that erupted from Zanyi. Vaguely, he seemed to see something. As expected of Mr. Fuyu, to be able to see such a microscopic level blurred, your pupil strength is a bit too strong. Zanyi said with a smile, staring at Fuyu's eyes. Kaleidoscope writing wheel eye, even if it only maintains the shape of the three-go jade, it is far superior to the ordinary three-go jade in every aspect. In the original book, Obito's eyes could see a lot of movement of nano-poisonous insects, and now Fuyu has similar vision. Fuyu's heart skipped a beat, facing Zanyi's meaningful gaze. How wide can your technique cover? The whole of the enemy. Zanyi made a strong shot, and the chakra in his body stirred wildly, which once again intensified the intensity of the radiation. Gradually, the many misty shadows who were fighting each other noticed something was wrong in a short period of time. Cover your body with chakra. Konoha's nuclear escape ninja is here. At this time, Qing couldn't help roaring, and his face was cold and he released chakra to protect himself. But this kind of method can only be applied to Shengnin and some excellent Chunin, like the lower ninja. It's no help. Go ahead, everyone come with me, kill Shiranui Xuanyi. Qing roared loudly, and was extremely frightened in his heart. Did this nuclear escape kid actually come directly from the Western Front to the Eastern Front? In his mind, he recalled the information about Zanyi, who was an unpredictable guy with terrifying abilities. Must kill him here. A large number of Wuyin abandoned their opponents, quickly assembled, and gathered in this dense fog. Soon, Fuyu, Xuanyi and others were chased and intercepted by a large number of Wuyin. No one can understand Qing's inner anxiety. According to the information he has obtained, many of the rock ninjas and sand ninjas who fought with this kid have suffered from terrible physical diseases, and they cannot be cured for the time being, and they have never recovered their health throughout their lives. Maybe Uchiha can go, but Shiranui kid must die. Are you coming? Mr. Fuyu, get ready. No matter what trump card you have in your hand, you don't need to use it here now. Zanyi said lightly, and while retreating quickly, he increased the radiation intensity. A large number of the Uchiha clan were freed and quickly retreated inland. Fuyu's group attracted at least 400 Wyans' pursuit, and more than half of these 400 people came to kill Xuanyi. Soon, the weak Kurigakushi ninja began to collapse, let out a painful scream, and fell to the ground one after another. As time went on, this painful howl became more and more. Many people clutched their bodies in pain, their internal organs atrophied, their blood dried up, and a large number of cysts and pus proliferated on the body surface. They all died in endless pain. This kind of technique like a natural disaster. Qing's body was shaking, but after a while, his team was reduced by 1/10. Although it was all cannon fodder, it was worthless, but the terrifying speed of downsizing is shocking. Qing's eyes were red, looking at Zanyi who was about to catch up. She gritted her teeth and chased after him. More Kurigakushi ninjas also went crazy, suppressing the panic in their hearts, roaring and killing Zanyi. As long as you can kill this kid, everything is worth it. This is Lord Xuanyi's technique. The young Zishui followed Fuyu and looked back in shock. Under the gaze of his eyes, the chakras fell one after another. The thick chakra fog created by the enemy himself is now like a poison that devours them, greedily and obsessively swallowing the lives of one misty ninja after another. The deeper you go into the thick fog, the more you can feel this indescribable terror. Zanyi, how long can you maintain this technique? Well, 2 hours is no problem. Quote. Fuyu called him an expert. It seemed that he didn't need to use his unskilled kaleidoscope writing wheel. Qing took a bunch of Shenzhen and Chunin teams and finally chased them up. Die, Konoha's vicious brat. Qing looked at him with hatred, the white eyes that were robbed, the blood vessels around it stretched, and the hands were quickly sealed. Water escape, water rush. Water escape, Qinglong is the best hand. A large number of water escape ninjutsu came crashing down, and the many misty ninjas hated Xuanyi so much at this time that they even left Uchiha who was going to kill him. All kinds of powerful ninjutsu all greeted Xuanyi. In particular, Qing's Qinglong is used to hand, which is a technique that cooperates with white eyes, and uses water attribute chakra to attack Xuanyi's acupuncture points. As long as the acupoints can be blocked and Xuanyi's chakra flow interrupted, this terrifying range attack will naturally dissipate. But unfortunately, I finally brought you here. Guys like you must be killed. You clean up the other trash, I'll deal with this guy, Qing, right? Give me back my white eyes. Zanyi opened his mouth, suddenly stretched out his hand, and grabbed Qing's palm. Qinglong stabbed Zanyi's palm at that time, but Zanyi didn't care at all. This kind of ridiculous injury, he can heal himself in 2 or 3 seconds. Die here. Zanyi made a seal with his other hand. Nuclear escape and nuclear clone. In an instant, the cells in Xuanyi's body began to proliferate frantically, and immediately 2 lumps of flesh emerged from his back, and as they wriggled, they gradually transformed into Xuanyi's appearance. What kind of magic is this? Qing's eyes widened, and this strange scene drove him to retreat instinctively. Snapped. The 2 nuclear avatars who had just drilled out half of their bodies and constructed the outline of their upper body, suddenly grabbed them with their backhands. 5 palms grabbed Qing tightly at that time. Zanyi made a seal with one hand again, with a cold smile on his face. Nuclear escape. The art of eliminating the original writing. A terrifying scene appeared in this electric light and flint. The four palms seemed to melt, and they all merged into Ching's body. Ah! A shrill scream resounded in the depths of the thick fog. Chapter 70-Tailed Beast Jade. In this chaotic battlefield, brutal confrontation continues. Fuyu commanded the ninjas present, scattered around in a squad formation, blocking the enemy's strong attack layer by layer. Most people seem to be struggling to resist, a little bit laborious, and some people die all the time. Master Xuanyi faces the dangerous guy Ching alone. Is it really okay? Master Fuyu is so relieved. Shishui killed an enemy in seconds with a powerful teleportation technique. Even though he was only 10 years old, as a new generation of geniuses of the Uchiha family, second only to Kazu, he had already revealed a trace of the powerhouse's qualities. He kept shaking his head, and a hooked jade writing wheel eye captured the traces of the enemy, and launched a counter-kill at the moment of being assassinated. Subconsciously, after piercing an enemy's neck with Kuwu, Ji Shui glanced in the direction of Zanyi. Just at this sight, Zishui's heart jumped wildly, showing a look of astonishment. What's going on? Is this also one of Lord Xuanyi's secret techniques? In his sight, the two clones, with their legs completely constructed, drilled out from Zanyi's back and stood stably. The four arms had already been integrated into Qing's body, and this terrifying scene severely impacted the shallow-sighted Shishui's nerves. Ninjutsu, can it still be like this? What type of cloning is this? Qing's sudden screams shocked the young Shishui even more. Zishui, what are you doing? Pay attention to your tasks. Fuyu shouted sharply. Yes, Patriarch. Zishui took a deep breath. The many Wuyin were also shocked when they heard Qing's screams, but they were desperately blocked by Fuyu, Yiwei and others. Dai and Kai directly opened the 6 and 5 doors, shouting things of unknown meaning, such as youth, and with their powerful speed and amazing mobility, they blocked dozens of Wuyin for a short time. Give me your eyes. Zanyi grabbed Qing's palm with one hand and said with a sneer. A single glance from the clan was enough to give him a preliminary glimpse into the genes of the Yumura lineage. My body, what's going on with this clone technique? Qing was shocked and angry, and he was gradually losing control of his body. Those two bizarre avatars, who don't know what they are, did not integrate into one point, and his body became more and more rigid and out of control. The chakras in the body began to show signs of runaway. With red eyes, he used Qinglong's dominant hand again, trying to violently extend the water attribute chakra, piercing Zanyi's head. But the next moment, his arm fell off. It was not cut off, but as if it melted, it just fell off. To a certain extent, I'm becoming more and more like Orochimaru. But forget it, getting Orochimaru's art of erasing facial expressions from the root, and further developing it into an art of erasing the original by combining my abilities, it is very practical. Quote. Zanyi sneered, and the next moment, he shot directly, first cutting off Qing's ears. There are magic talismans hanging on these two ears. It's some kind of sealing technique. Set up the technique in advance, and seal the white eyes when you encounter a crisis. I can't let you do this. Zanyi pulled out Kuwu, raised his hand and slashed in Qing's desperate eyes. PFF'd. The huge head rose into the sky, and the blood shone into the sky. When Zanyi retracted his hand, a white eyeball was lying quietly in the palm of one hand. This is the white eye. In a previous war, the people of the Hyuga sect were attacked by the fog and gouged out an eye and transplanted it to Ao. Bloody eyes followed. But at this time, the many Wuyin who came in were able to break through the defense line of Fuyu and others, and looked at Zanyi angrily. Or, looking at the three Xuanyi. Do you still want to fight? Your leader was killed by me. You used chakra coats to resist my power. Now, you are consuming a lot of money, right? With only 200 people, fighting against the remaining 300 of you. Guess who will win? Zanyi's voice was calm. Numerous Kurigakushi were extremely angry, but looking at the Uchiha ninjas who quickly assembled, they finally gritted their teeth and planned to retreat. "Who told you to run without my permission? Go ahead and kill these idiots." Zanyi waved his hand. Oh. As expected of Zanyi-sang, my blood is on fire. "Oh, father, is this the power of youth?" The father and son were so excited that they felt that this was too strong, and they tried their best. Some Uchiha ninjas looked at these two people with disgust, but they were in high spirits and immediately chased and killed Kurigakure. The fog is dissipating, and the silent killing technique is gradually disintegrating. Konoha ninja launched a frantic counterattack against the enemy. "Kill the fucking things. You have today too. Avenge the clansmen." This situation, which was originally at an absolute disadvantage, was reversed with the addition of Zanyi and the death of Ching. Those many Wuin who fled in a hurry, panicked, and although their hearts were full of anger, they still had no choice but to run for their lives. They were extremely aggrieved, plus they only believed in strength and did not have the slightest trust in their companions. As long as they were defeated, they would be defeated. Taking the initiative to sacrifice after the break, to buy time for the companion to escape. "Ha! It doesn't exist. We Kirigase ninjas are as stupid as Konoha ninjas." The tide of the battle was reversed, and a large number of Wuin fled, and even attacked the companions around him, slowing down their speed. As time goes on, more and more Kurigakushi ninjas are killed, and this is gradually evolving into a terrible hunt. In addition, many fog hidden, because of desperate consumption of chakra, used to shield Xuanyi's radiation power. At this point, during the escape, many people's chakras were gradually exhausted, their combat power dropped sharply, and their physical energy was severely damaged. But the more this is, the more they can't give up making chakra coats, it will only die faster. This is a vicious circle with no solution, and they can only escape desperately. Many Kurigakushi ninjas on the run, after running out of chakra, suffered from the terrible effects. Even if they were not caught up and killed by Konoha ninjas, they would fester and die. That kid's combat power is obviously not strong, but why is the coverage of his power so exaggerated? A fog hid an exhausted chakra, and let out a wailing sound, and the radiation that was constantly brewing poured in, destroying the cells in his body. Died. After a long time. The fog completely dissipated. The dead corpses all over the place, as well as many guys who died tragically, were speechless about the horror of this battle. I have minimized the impact on you as much as possible, but there may be some minor after effects. A faint smile appeared on Zanyi's face, and he began to recover all the radiation. I get it, Zanyi, although it's the first time we've met, I don't thank you very much. Fuyu took a deep breath as he looked at the tragic mist who fell to the ground. Shiranui Xueni, it really is the most terrifying new generation. Many Konoha ninjas returned, especially those from the Uchiha clan who revered power the most, looking at Xueni with awe. In this battle, it is simply unbelievable to be able to fight like this. I originally thought that their family would suffer a tragic loss, but I didn't expect that Zanyi's blood succession ability was terrifying to such an extent. Zanyi sang, you can get another rich military exploit. Kazuki chuckled lightly, covering one eye with her hair, and slowly raised her head. The only remaining eye, Sengoyu appeared, but the next moment, her complexion changed slightly. Hyuga Yibo suddenly said, Lord Xueni, we are in trouble. Chakras with a terrifying scale are gathering on the sea. Zanyi immediately looked up. In the vagueness, there is a terrifying coercion coming from the faint, and the extremely oppressive chakra is condensing into a ball in the distance. Wuyin village actually dispatched Renzuli, Tisk. This is Tailed Beast Jade. Chapter 71-Lord Fuyu is flying. Mizukage-sama, almost all of our troops at Landing Point C were wiped out. A Kurigakure ninja knelt on the ground, trembling all over. In front of him, a slender figure, with long black hair reaching to his waist, his tightly closed eyes showing narrow and long, is standing indifferently on the spot. Everyone around, even the 7 ninja swordsmen, did not want to get too close to him, and there was a deep fear in the eyes that moved from time to time. The 3rd generation of Water Shadows, who claimed to be the one who inherited the will of the 2nd generation of Water Shadow Ghosts and Magic Moon, brought Wuin Village to a road that no one thought of. Harsh, betrayal, killing. Really, Point C should be the stronghold of the Uchiha clan, but it was such a waste that it was defeated by that clan. 3 generations of Mizukage closed his eyes and opened his mouth indifferently. The next moment, a water escape technique poured out from the sea, killing the ninja who came to report. 3 generations of adults, why don't you let me go? With the shark muscle in my hand, I can kill any enemy. The watermelon mountain puffer fish suddenly laughed, and pulled out the shark muscle on the spot. Shark muscle is the younger brother of Sanwei. In the past, he followed Sanwei all the year round, helping Sanwei transform external substances, extracting chakra and feeding it to Sanwei. No need, just destroy the entire sea landing point directly. The 3 generations of Water Shadows said in a low voice, and the expressions of the others changed, and they immediately backed away from the 3 generations of Water Shadows. The next moment, the body of the 3rd generation of Water Shadows immediately burst into blood-red chakras, and instantly completed the half-tailed beast transformation, and the huge chakras began to gather in the air. Sprayed towards Point C with a bang. The vast sea was split into 2 at that time, and it was torn apart in an instant. Even if it was the hard ground, a ravine was instantly pressed out. The power of destruction is coming. ... A terrifying sense of oppression surged. Everyone saw the sea in the distance. At this moment, the sea was turbulent, and it suddenly sunk into a piece, as if the power suspended in the air was bursting with terrifying gravity. Tailed Beast Jade. It seems that 3 tails are coming. Zanyi frowned, a little puzzled. At this time, the 3-tailed person Zuri. Who will be? The 3-tailed man Zuri that appeared in the original work. The first was Nohara Rin, who was killed by Kakashi, and the second 3-tailed man Zuli was the 4th generation Mizukage Yagura. After Yakura's death, Mitsuo regained his freedom until he was arrested by Deidara and Obito of Akatsuki's organization. But the 3 tails at this time. Is Madara Uchiha in control? That would be interesting. Everyone leave here immediately. Fuyu shouted immediately and ordered everyone to retreat immediately. The group of people didn't have time to rest at all, dragging their tired bodies and quickly moving inland. Staying on the battlefield all the year round, many people have heard of the terrible tailed beast Jade even if they have not experienced it. Patriarch, the other party started to create tailed beast Jade at such a long distance. Can we escape the enemy's attack range? Shisui said in a low voice. Maybe, you can go, it's a burden to stay here. I will find a way to deal with the enemy's attack. Fuyu said in a deep voice. Zanyi said with a faint smile. I'll stay too, if it's the first time I've encountered a tailed beast, I'm more curious. Fuyu frowned and said, Zanyi, you are still too young, this is a tailed beast. Lord Fuyu, even if you use some trump cards, you will have to pay a very painful price. If I am by your side, at least I can find a way to escape with you when you are exhausted. Zanyi opened his mouth and said, and at the same time handed the blood-stained white eyes to Yue. This eye is very important. Don't lose it. In addition, no matter who asks you for it, it must not be handed over. You know what I mean. Of course, you can also use it on yourself. Zanyi said with a light smile. The others didn't understand, but Fuyu's expression changed, and he took a deep look at Yue. Covered one eye, was blinded by the enemy, or Azanagi. I still prefer my eyes. Please rest assured Zanyi-song, I will protect your eyes with my life. Kazu took Bayan over, and then immediately retreated with everyone. Everyone else withdrew, but Dai didn't move. Now, it's time to burn my youth. Watch me get rid of that big ball, dead door. Dai clenched his fists with both hands, growled lowly, and wanted to burn himself in one breath, giving that tailed beast Jade to a kick away. Fuyu looked at this Wan Nian Sharen with a stunned expression. Stop, you go too, die, it's just a tailed beast jade. I and Lord Fuyu have the ability to deal with it, this is an order. Zan Yi ordered. Dai hesitated for a moment, finally agreed and left quickly. Zan Yi, the guy who kept shouting about youth just now, can he solve the tailed beast jade? Fuyu frowned. If you really want to say it, you can do it with just one kick, but the price is a bit high. Lord Fuyu, please help me keep it a secret. In return, I can keep your secret a secret. Zan Yi stood up straight, and the two nuclear escape clones stood on his left and right, looking up at the amazingly large-tailed beast jade together. An astonishing depression appeared in both the ocean and the ground. Fuyu sighed. You seem to have a lot of secrets hidden in you. You are like this. Even Wanian Genin, who follows you, has this kind of power, and Yiwei, I'm afraid it's also you. Fuyu took a deep look at Zan Yi, and the next moment, he opened his eyes again, and a pair of kaleidoscope writing wheel eyes appeared impressively. There are 3 curved blades in this eye, and there is a small ring between the blades. At the same time, white translucent chakra ribs appeared on his body. Aren't you surprised at all? It seems that Kazu has already told you the information about this kind of eyes. Kaleidoscope Sharinyan Suzano. The ribs on the surface of the body suddenly expanded, becoming more solid and powerful. Fuyu growled lowly, enduring the severe pain caused by these eyes. The whole person rushed towards the hair-tailed beast jade. Boom! The two figures collided suddenly, and in just a moment, the tailed beast jade exploded, and the amazing fluctuations suddenly erupted, and the air itself was shaken by the powerful impact, creating an instant vacuum zone. In an instant, it seemed like the end of the world. Everything in the field of vision was covered and shrouded by this terrifying nothingness, and everything was left. Only the great man who seemed to be victorious, carried everything, and was incomparably stalwart. Zan Yi exclaimed at that time, as expected of Lord Fuyu, he is really domineering. Ah, Lord Fuyu is flying. I saw that Fuyu was blown out sideways. He rolled over dozens of times on the ground in a row, his face was disheartened, and after barely getting up, he vomited blood, panting, his face was pale, and he sat on the ground, covering his bloodshot eyes with incomparable pain. Hoo-hoo, actually blocked. Fuyu vomited blood while speaking, and most of the chakra ribs on the body were smashed, and the rest were full of cracks. Ah, Lord Fuyu is so bad. Zan Yi decisively took back what he just said. Sure enough, Suzano in its original form was useless. It is said that when the second pillar attacked the Five Shadows Conference in the original book, Susa seemed to be smashed by Reikage first, and then dissolved by Terumi Mei with a spit. When I got to Fuyu, I had to pick up a tailed beast jade at the beginning. Well, as expected of being a father, the force is different. When Urzuzi was born, he had to find a way to remind him to learn. The province has been confronting the man with the kunai stabbing Susa for a long time, and I really thought everyone was like that. On the sea in the distance, new chakras gathered again, and the second tailed beast jade came. Damn, don't underestimate me. Fuyu struggled to stand up, growled, a lot of pupil power surged, and began to frantically repair the ribs. This time, an arm was successfully extended. At this time, Zan Yi moved. The 3 Xuanyi stood directly in front of Fuyu. Forget it, Lord Fuyu, let's take a rest first. You are not very skilled in the power of those eyes. I'll do it for you. Fire, thunder, water. The 3 Xuanyi quickly formed 3 seals. The terrifying chakra began to surge in their bodies, and the surrounding temperature began to rise at an explosive speed. Under Fuyu's shocking gaze, the 3 Xuanyi burst out with astonishing fluctuations. Nuclear escape. White-hot light. 3 terrifying white rays suddenly burst out, and they collided directly with the tailed beast jade. Chapter-62 I'm ready. 3 incandescent rays of light, at this moment, are the strongest attacks Zan Yi can unleash. At this moment, Zan Yi, together with the 2 clones, jointly blasted out 3 incandescent rays of light. This was a super attack that far surpassed everything else. The moment this terrifying attack was launched, it turned into 3 long white clouds, and the terrifying temperature directly burned everything in the vicinity. Vaguely, together with the air itself, it became extremely restless at this moment. The earth is melting, the water vapor is boiling, and all the vegetation is burning violently. Call out. Boom. Under Fuyu's shocked and horrified gaze, 3 incandescent rays of light and the tailed beast Jade suddenly collided. At this moment, the whole world seemed to lose its voice. This hair-tailed beast Jade is obviously stronger than the one just now, but Xuanyi can actually possess such a terrifying power, and he can directly shake the tailed beast Jade. Fuyu looked at the 3 Xuanyi in shock. If only Xuanyi used this forbidden technique, he would not be so shocked, but now, together with the 2 strange clones who don't know what happened, they can use the power of this kind of power. This is simply incredible. Boom. A terrifying confrontation broke out. 3 ultra-high temperature rays, in the frantic sweep, directly hit the hair-tailed beast Jade. In the violent interweaving, at the moment of collision, 3 incandescent rays of light interweaved with the tailed beast Jade, and the frantic agitation began in an instant. One after another, white clouds were scattered under the violent impact at this moment. The combined force of the 3 incandescent lights acts on the tailed beast Jade, and the power that erupts is extremely exaggerated. The high temperature that escaped after the collision alone caused catastrophic results. Not good. Fuyu's face changed, and the rapidly rising temperature had already made him feel pain. In the next moment, Susanoo grew further and protected him to the death. The more this is the case, the more Fuyu understands how shocking this scene is. If my Susanoo can enter the next stage, it should be. Fuyu looked at this scene in disbelief. The tailed beast Jade was pushed back. The combined force of the 3 white-hot rays of light reversed this terrifying power little by little after the fierce roar of the tailed beast Jade, and the terrifying shock wave ravaged everything. The nearby land was almost turned into a liquid lake by shock waves and terrifying high temperatures. In the end, when the tailed beast Jade burst out with chakra fluctuations, it was pushed back by the original path before it exploded. On the sea, the 3rd generation of water shadows still closed their eyes, and stood indifferently in place, slowly returning to human form from the half-tailed beast. HMPH, I didn't expect this kind of power to appear again in this family, but it doesn't matter, they are all supporting roles. The 3 generations of water shadows spoke indifferently. The watermelon mountain puffer fish showed an ugly smile, and immediately responded, 2-tailed beast Jades in a row. No matter how strong the Uchiha clan is, in front of the 3 generations of adults, they are still extremely fragile, they are dead. Look at it. There was a sudden burst of shock, and some ninjas who were landing at various landing points raised their heads in confusion, and their expressions changed drastically. That thing looks familiar. It's the tailed beast Jade of the 3rd generation of adults. Don't run away. Many Kirige's ninjas screamed and fled in all directions. Quote. Actually, pushed it back. It seems that there are capable people among the enemies. The watermelon mountain puffer ghost was startled at the time, and glanced at the 3 generations of water shadows vaguely, and then under the inexplicable gaze of others, he could only pull out the shark muscle. Forget it, I'll take care of this hair-tailed beast Jade. No matter who did it, I'll cut off his head with my own hands. Ghost Shark, I'll appoint you as the leader of the frontline assassination unit and find a way to assassinate that guy. The watermelon mountain puffer ghost looked cold and severe. After giving an order to a young man with a shark face, he directly carried the shark muscle and pounced on the tailed beast Jade. Shark muscle, even the chakra of the tailed beast can be swallowed. The ghost shark glanced greedily and buried his head deeply. Zanyi stood in the same place panting, and even the 2 nuclear escaped clones had exhausted chakra at this moment, and there were faint signs of melting. 2.0 of the nuclear escaped clone. You only need to use chakra to stimulate the proliferation of cells, and the clone can make a large number of new chakras by yourself. It seems to be solved. Fuyu manipulated a white skeleton, looking at the amazing scene in front of him, and fell into a long silence. Zanyi immediately recovered the clone. Master Fuyu, don't be in a daze, retreat quickly, there are too many strong enemies in the enemy, and there is a very troublesome guy watching. Zanyi looked up, his face solemn. The entire painting style of Wuyin started to change from the third generation of water shadows to the peak of the bloodiest and most cruel peak of the fourth generation of water shadows. The current 3 generations of water shadows. Is Uchiha Madara in control? Considering that in the original work, Nohara Lin turned into a person Zuli as Madara's handwriting, I am afraid that the senior members of Wuyin will be controlled by Madara as a grandson. Fuyu nodded, controlled a skeleton hand, grabbed Zanyi, and then turned and fled. In order to guard against the new attack of Wuyin, Fuyu has been maintaining the shape of the kaleidoscope writing wheel eye, and the load is very huge. What a pair of powerful eyes. Zanyi glanced at the pair of kaleidoscopes thoughtfully. These eyes only appear in the anime version. With the power of these eyes, Fuyu showed Itachi the consequences of exposing himself to have a kaleidoscope. Naruto was arrested by Uchiha's radical faction, and Fuyu was unable to ride a tiger, so he had to control Naruto and release the nine-tailed demon fox, triggering the second nine-tailed rebellion. These eyes. Are they suspected to have the ability to predict the future? It's somewhat similar to the ability of the old toad in Meowmoo Mountain. Xuanyi shook his head and thought about it carefully. In the ninja world, there are actually quite a few things related to fate. Meowmushin's prophecy and Izanagi of the Uchiha clan can even rewrite fate. It is not a big deal to have an extra pair of prophetic eyes. It's just that things like fate and prophecy are very interesting in themselves. Thousands of years ago, the old toad intended to guide the immortals of the 6 paths, and later he guided Jiraiya and Naruto. Among them, 5 minutes later, Fuyu was driving at Susanoo and moving very fast, and he was already exhausted, but he did not dare to close the kaleidoscope writing wheel. It seems that the enemy has not caught up. We are temporarily safe. It is necessary to report the news of Wuyin to Lord Jiraiya as soon as possible. Xuanyi, we will not die. Fuyu said in a low voice. You used that technique, you must have suffered heavy damage to your body, and I will definitely bring you back safely. Well, yes, I was seriously injured, and the chakra just now was not small. Many people know that this is my forbidden technique. Zanyi looked solemn. Fuyu nodded clearly, it is understandable if he is forbidden, and immediately, he looked at Zanyi with incomparable admiration. Don't worry, no matter how badly you are injured, I will find a way to cure you. You used that forbidden technique, I'm afraid you have done everything you can. Well, almost, 30% of chakra is used. Lord Fuyu knows how terrible this is. I haven't consumed so much in a long time. Huh. Ah, Lord Fuyu, put me down. Huh. I'm fine. What? I said, my chakra has barely recovered a little. About half of my achievements have been fully recovered. Quote ? Chapter 73 _ Beginning of a New Era. The 3 generations of water shadows are themselves a mysterious existence, and the relevant information about him is the least among the 5 generations of shadows in the 5 villages. When to die, how to die, and what spells are good at, are all a mystery. This long-haired, closed-eyed Shuiying was only summoned by the 6-path immortals as a tool at the end of the 4th Ninja War in the original book to channel the prince and Urzuzi back into the ninja world. 3 generations of water shadows. From this person, the entire Korean's policy has been tightened, and it has reached its bloody peak in the 4th generation. Along the way, Zanyi ignored Fuyu's extremely complicated eyes. When they caught up with the retreating army, Zanyi couldn't help but turn his head and glanced in the direction of the sea. 3 generations of water shadows. I'm afraid it has become a puppet. At this time, the entire eastern camp began to be restless, and news of various strongholds falling one after another on the coast continued to come. Obviously, Kuriyuki has launched an all-out attack, and a decisive battle is to be fought. The various embarrassed teams return to the main camp one after another. Damn, those bastards in the fog, so suddenly. Many of our comrades died. It is said that there is only a temporary station for the Uchiha clan. There is no major problem, and the enemy is defeated with a backhand. This is indeed the #1 wealthy family in Konoha. But what I heard is that they got the help of Lord Schwenny, and they killed all the enemies by relying on Lord Schwenny's powerful secret technique. The initiative to stop the enemy after the break, this kind of talent, this kind of strength, and this kind of will, it's too strong. Among the many defeated soldiers, Uchiha was the only team that sent back good news and saved some Konoha's face. Schwenny's name, as the youngest Jonin in Konoha's history, resounded throughout the entire camp and became one of the few bright spots. This kind of record is so amazing that many people who have not witnessed it with their own eyes, instinctively do not believe it. What ability can be so powerful, to create powerful toxins to kill enemies in a large area? Can't there be another Hanzo in the land of rain? In the camp. You said that the enemy launched the tailed beast Jade and was blocked by the two of you. When Jirai was not funny, he was a very dignified existence, and he looked at Zanyi and Fuyu with a look of surprise. The two of them looked extremely embarrassed at the moment, almost surviving. Ah, Lord Jiraiya, I barely blocked the enemy's tailed beast Jade with a forbidden technique. I almost died. Zanyi spoke first. Fuyu paused, kept silent, and took over Zanyi's offer. After all, he knows too well what his eyes mean. These are the eyes that can control the tailed beast. Zilai also nodded solemnly, as if to say, so it is a forbidden technique, the old man mentioned it in the letter to me. Your forbidden technique will consume your lifespan, does your body really matter? You can hold on. Everything is for Konoha. In order to use this technique, he lost dozens of seconds of life. Zilai was also very moved. It's amazing, then you should take a rest during this time. The enemy is afraid that he will start a decisive battle regardless of everything. What a good new generation, this kind of awakening, for a time, can't move him. Maybe, at the worst time, Zanyi's forbidden power will be used. Water Shadow, Tailed Beast. Jiraiya also shook his head. When will this chaotic ninja world usher in peace? After walking out of the tent, Schwenny asked Fuyu about the seal of the mist and the way of chakra streamline. The silent killing technique also needs the geographical environment and the assassination technique. I know this, but I am very interested in the technique of fog hiding itself. Zanyi spoke politely and bid farewell to Fuyu temporarily. Before the two separated, they looked at each other deeply. Some things just need to be buried in the bottom of my heart. Zanyi followed a ninja and returned to his exclusive camp, where his subordinates were already stationed. Master Schwenny, the conditions are a bit crude, please forgive me. The ninja said respectfully, while staring at Schwenny with amazement. How come? It's already very good here, it's hard work for you. Zanyi smiled and nodded, watching the ninja leave in awe. He sat in the tent, rested for a while, adjusted his state to the best, and then suddenly sneered and slapped the ground hard. A large amount of radiation surged and began to spread wildly underground. A white thing was forced to drill out from the ground. What a sharp guy, can you spot me? Baiju spread his hands helplessly. If I were that one, I wouldn't be at ease. If I guessed correctly, he is also the one who controlled the action of the fog hidden this time. Together with the 3 generations of Mizukage, and the 3 tails, they are all under his control. Zanyi spoke indifferently. According to the normal timeline, in a short while, Nohara Rin will become a brand new 3-tailed person Zuri under Madara's arrangement. To achieve this result, first of all, it is necessary for the senior leaders of Kurikan to implant the decree of the 3 tails into Lin. A battle plan of stuffing your own strategic weapons into an enemy and then detonating them. At least, the 3 generations of water shadows need to agree. From this, it is inferred that the mysterious guy of the 3 generations of water shadows has a certain probability to become Madara's puppet. The 2-tailed beast Jade just now was not for the purpose of destroying the Uchiha clan, not for the purpose of destroying Fuyu, but for the purpose of killing me. Zanyi stared at Baiju in front of him. Baiju shook his head. No, I guess it's Mr. Ban who is testing your abilities. If you can't even escape the tailed beast Jade, then you will die if you die. So, Wuyin village is really under your control. Huh, yes, I didn't say anything. Forget it, Madara wants me to do. It doesn't really matter, he asked me to tell you. After a long time, Baiju planned to leave. Go back and tell Madara, I'm going to find a chance to meet him and his heir, and make a plan of action after his death. Peace is such a luxury, it's not easy to get hold of it. Zanyi got up and suddenly opened his mouth. Baiju was silent for a moment. Understood, I will tell Mr. Ban, but it is not up to me to decide whether he agrees or not. I will use means to get him to agree. Zanyi said lightly. Baiju left. Zanyi stood on the spot and looked up at the sunlight coming in from outside. Don't do superfluous things, wait patiently, this kind of warning words. That guy is about to attack Obito, detonate the decisive battle on the East Front, speed up the war on the West Front, and create a time difference. Obito. At this moment, I am sure that I have received a new order to go to the battlefield on the Western Front and participate in the Battle of Canopy Bridge. The next time I meet Obito, I'm afraid it will be the beginning of a new era. Obito, although our methods are different, the goals we choose are the same as you. I just hope you don't deviate too much from your original intention. At this time, there was a commotion outside. Enough is enough, don't hide it anymore. The eyes of our Hyuga family were taken by the people of your roots. Let your captain come out to see me. I am day by day, and I will never condone your evil deeds. Seeing that a book friend mentioned the issue of the 3 generations of water shadows, here is a special explanation. 26 years old when he was not beheaded, the same age as Kakashi. Not to mention, his policy at that time was to kill a friend to graduate, so he graduated at the age of 12. At that time, Obito was so great that he had just turned black. Lin was killed by Kakashi, and Sanwei followed. Death, the 4th generation of Mizukage Yagura is the 3-tailed person Zuli. It is impossible for the 4th generation of Mizukage to be controlled by the 12 and 3-year-old Obito at this time. If you don't graduate at the age of 10, it will be even more outrageous and impossible. Second, Madara made it clear that Rin had been arranged by Kakashi to become a 3-tailed man and killed by Kakashi, and he deliberately let Obito see it so that he would be blackened. To seal the 3 tails into Lin's body, the senior leaders of Wuyin must agree, which means that the 3 generations of water shadows are controlled by Madara. Third, the 3rd generation of water shadows is the 3-tailed person Zuli. This is my original. Because according to the timeline of the original book, the first 3-tailed man who appeared was Rin Nohara, who was Rin Nohara before. From the distribution of tailed beasts in the first Hokage to the 3 wars in the decades, how the 3 tails were arranged in Wuyin village was blank. Without any information, it can't be all stalking for decades, right? There will definitely be someone who will be strong, so I just made it up like this. Arranging the 3 generations of water shadows controlled by Madara is better than arranging an original character that I made up. Fourth, those who are bothering to lift the bars will put the steel bars in their hands temporarily, and use all their strength after I put them on the shelf. Chapter 74-Tailless Beast. The people of the Hyuga clan were blocked outside Xuani's tent, and the group was angry. The head of the day difference even opened his eyes. Lord Rizai, Lord Xuani has just made a military exploit and urgently needs a rest, please go back. Kazu stood in front of Risari's body with a dull expression. It was as if Nizai, a wealthy family, could not let her be moved and jealous at all. This kind of courage does not come from the support of the Uchiha family, but from her confidence in her own strength. Nizai stared at Kazuki with his white eyes, and a trace of horror flashed in his eyes. This kid has an amazing chakra. Rizai was horrified. In his field of vision, there was a huge flow of chakra in Kazuki's body, even surpassing his veteran Junin. A member of the Nagin appeared one after another and confronted the Hinata clan expressionlessly. More angry, Iroha, you are a member of the Hyuga branch. Do you still recognize me as the head of the branch? Sorry, Nizai-sama, I am a root person now. I have been a root person since the family agreed to hand me over to Danzo-sama. Iroha said indifferently, the eyes looking at Risuri were extremely unfamiliar. Damn. Daybreak gritted his teeth. At this time, Zanyi walked out of the tent slowly and came directly to the front of Rii. Seeing Zanyi, Rizai's heart jumped again. Another one, this terrifying amount of chakra, and several times that of that one, it's simply like a sleeping-tailed beast. In the chakra gathering place in the abdomen, vaguely, there seems to be something deeper hidden by the majestic chakra, and the daily difference cannot be seen at all. Yiwei and Xueni, these two guys can't be accidental, what is going on? You finally found out. Hurry up and hand over the eyes of our family. We have already obtained the information. Qing has been killed by you. You must have obtained buy-in, but you did not take the initiative to return it to us after returning. The people of the Hyuga tribe were very angry. White eyes are their biggest secret, but they didn't want to be taken away by the enemy, and ended up in the hands of their own ninja. Rizai said calmly, I don't know who Xueni. Right, I've heard your name, and you must know the importance of white eyes to our family. No, I don't know, all I know is that opening the eyes is an act of declaring war. Lord Rizai, can I understand that you are declaring war on the root at the moment of the enemy? Zanyi slowly raised his head, and a smile appeared on his face. This time, the entire Hyuga clan was quiet. Everyone, no matter how angry and annoyed they were, when they heard the root, they thought of the terrifying darkness of tolerance, and they were immediately poured cold water. Shimura Danzo is a ghost that hovers in the shadows. But this is the eyes of our family, even if Danzo-sama is here. Then when my teacher is here, he will make the decision. According to Gen's regulations, I should hand over all the spoils of war to teacher Danzo. Zanyi interrupted Rizai's words and said with a smile, so, Lord Rizai, please come back. I have no decision-making power on this matter, and it is up to Lord Danzo to decide. Quote. I lost my voice for a while, trembling with anger, and cold hands and feet on a hot day. When will our Hyuga clan stand up? Several radical Hyuga clansmen have already planned to attack Zanyi. For thousands of years, the Hyuga family has been doing everything possible to protect the secrets of Bayan, and they cannot tolerate being taken away by outsiders. In particular, it also fell into the hands of Shinobi's disciples. At this time, an amazing amount of chakra began to slowly escape from Zanyi's body, and the heavier and larger scale made the daily difference completely calm. In his field of vision, Zanyi seemed to be a terrifying monster, with a chakra ocean brewing in his body. At this time, the ocean was bursting with huge waves. You guys, that's enough. Immediately return to your camp and prepare for battle. At this time, Jiraiya sat in a big toad in time to stop the conflict. Hanada Yugen, just thinking about it, felt a headache, and this Danzo disciple looked extremely strong, inheriting Danzo's character. Lord Jiraiya, this matter, our Hyuga clan will not let it go. Hyuga Nisashi gritted his teeth and said, even if he didn't want to conflict with the people in the same village, he could only leave with his clan at this time. When they left, the icy gazes of the Hyuga people fell on Zanyi and the others. Zanyi bowed slightly towards Jiraiya and said with a smile, thank you very much, Lord Jiraiya. As expected of that guy's disciple of Danzo. Zilai also glanced at Zanyi, who was slightly bent over, and shook his head. It's too much trouble to deal with this kind of thing, and it's easier to fight. After everyone left, Zanyi stood on the spot with a calm expression, and slowly extended his hand. Kazuki put the glassware in Zanyi's hand, and the white eyeballs were shaking in the liquid. Bayan, I can't go back now. Zanyi calmly lowered his head and glanced at it. This is an important tool for him to spy on Yumura's blood, and it is impossible to let it out. As for bringing Danzang out to take the blame, Zanyi felt that teacher Danzang should not care about such details. With his sullen and unwilling to compromise easily, there is no doubt that he will be able to say, as expected of my disciple. Zan Yi took out a scroll, and then sealed the white eye in the scroll. Everything, wait until the war is over. Everything has been adjusted, and a more tragic war is about to break out. I don't want our team to be wiped out after the war is over. Zan Yi looked at his subordinates and ordered. Don't worry, Zan Yi-sung, as long as I'm still alive, I will never let the enemy hurt you. Dai clenched his fists fiercely, flames burning in his eyes. Not long ago, he almost opened the door of death to fight against the tailed beast Jade, and he has made the consciousness of sacrifice. Next, the cloud of Armageddon loomed over every corner of the battlefield. The ninja teams on both sides spread out, using any means possible to obtain information, and fought fiercely in the southeastern part of the country of fire. Stab it! With a samurai sword, the ghost shark easily cut off the head of a Konoha ninja, and then quickly formed a seal, and devoured the 2 Konoha ninjas who fled in a hurry with a water escape ninjutsu. Basically, the target is locked, Uchiha Fuyu and Shiranui Shweni. My head hurts when I hear it. That guy Fuyu is not very easy to kill, so let's kill Shweni first. The ghost shark slowly raised its head, and there was a hideous smile on the face of the shark. The new generation, no matter how strong, can't escape my hunt. After all, I have the potential of a tailless beast. Chapter 75 _ So many koalas. The dried persimmon ghost shark took over the task of killing Fuyu and Shweni, and was patiently waiting for the opportunity. After this mission is over, I should think about how to capture the shark muscle. It really hurts my heart to let that dead fat man master the shark muscle. The ghost shark sneered. Long as he got the shark muscle, his name of tailless beast will be fully realized. Shish. A large number of figures shuttled through the woods, and on the eve of the decisive battle, the squads fought one after another. Master Oni, there is news from other teams that they have found the target's trail. A ninja whispered. Fine, let's get to work. The ghost shark got up quickly, with a terrifying smile on his face, and quickly rushed to the target location. Zan Yi's face had already caught his eye. I found it. Go to hell. The ghost shark threw out the samurai's sword, but was knocked away by a kunai. A young girl stood in front of him, the 3 guyu in her eyes slowly twirling. Now all the strange things are coming out. Be careful, Kazu, this guy is a dried persimmon ghost shark. On the side, Zan Yi twisted the neck of a Wuyin casually and said casually. It turns out that you are the guy who has been mentioned by many people in the clan. Chakra is an amazing koala. Kazuki rolled his eyes. Yes, it's me. If you don't want to die, get out of here. The ghost shark quickly formed the seal, with extremely skilled movements, and a setback was full of mysterious rhythm. Water escape water shark bullet technique. A huge water shark suddenly appeared and rushed towards Kazuki. But Yiwei didn't even blink an eye. At that time, he used an exaggerated fireball technique, which collided with the water shark and detonated a large amount of hot steam. It's a brainless idiot to spend so much chakra on the technique of the fireball. The ghost shark sneered and continued to seal. Water escape 5 food sharks. Huo un huo huo extinguishes the arrow. Water escape rain 4 sharks. Fire escape huo huo extinguished. Quote. The astonishing scale of water vapor seems to be a large-scale fog concealment technique, brewing a terrifying high temperature, and it spreads with a bang. The ninjutsu that the 2 of them started to fight against each other. Any ninjutsu, the loss of chakra has long been far beyond the normal range. What's up with this guy? How can she have so many chakras? The ghost shark used various ninjutsu one after another with a look of astonishment. No matter how he moves, the guy on the opposite side always uses the exaggerated fire escape technique without changing his face, forcibly offsetting his water escape shark. This. Tailless beast, that's all, from now on, I'm also a tailless beast. A smile finally appeared on Kazuki's face, and while using fire escape ninjutsu, he frantically extracted chakra from the countless cells in his body. A steady stream of new chakras are created. This size surprised everyone. Endless ninjutsu battles have consumed chakra far beyond the scope of the Jinin's comprehension. And it seems that these two guys can continue to fight against each other until the end of the world. Interesting, it's the first time I've seen a guy similar to me. A person who is not Zuli can have so many chakras. You should be the strongest genius of the Uchiha clan, Kazu. The ghost shark blew away the water vapor with a blow of the wind, and his terrifying eyes slowly widened. I just used 20% of chakra, how much did you use? Yiwei evaluated it. About 50%. To tell the truth, she herself doesn't know how many chakras she can have with her all-out efforts, because the cancer cells in her body can always self-proliferate. As long as her mental power can handle it, she can endlessly refine new chakras. Ghost Shark grinned. Oh, it's not bad, although it's not as good as me, but it's also excellent. It's 40% now. ... Are you fooling me? The ghost shark was full of question marks. What happened to this woman? While fighting, can the chakra in the body recover quickly? The confrontation between the two gradually intensified, and the endless ninjutsu attacked, so that the nearby terrain was changed in a large range, but no one could do anything. The chakra they consumed was probably more than a dozen Kakashi. At the end of the fight, Kazu's face suddenly changed. The cancer cells in the body crossed the critical point, broke through the suppression of Indra's gene, and began to lose control, forcing her to choose to retreat. HMPH, can't I stand it anymore? Hoo, I'm the tailless beast. The ghost shark was panting heavily, sweating profusely, and moving his eyes. He found that all his subordinates had been killed by Zanyi. HMPH, you're lucky this time. The ghost shark made a rush of water, disrupting the line of sight, and then ran away in a hurry. A few hours later, the ghost shark pulled up a new team and killed it again. You haven't escaped back to the main camp yet, you really are courting death yourself. The ghost shark looked at Zanyi with a grim smile. Immediately shot, this time, directly use the open large water escape, 1,000 food sharks. 1,000 shark water bombs roared towards Zanyi. Without that Uchiha clan, I don't have anything to worry about, based on my chakra volume. A few white rays hit, shrouding everyone's vision. A few minutes later, the ghost shark, whose body was festering and was almost cooked by his own water escape technique, once again became a bear commander. This time, he could only use a blast of water to destroy the terrain in a radius of 100 meters, intending to take the opportunity to escape. Damn, the previous one's chakra is a little abnormal. What's going on with this ignorant brat? The body's chakra is huge, and the amount of chakra in his clone is so outrageous. The ghost shark was seriously injured and his mentality exploded. How many tailless beasts appeared in one breath? Can this still allow him to hunt well? As a ninja, after failing 2 missions in a row, Oni Shark almost saw his cruel end. Whether it is the Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost or the 3 generations of Water Shadows, they will not let him go easily. Just washed out of the flood range. At this moment, Youth Sonata, feel my youth. Kai, who had opened 5 doors, somehow came over, roared and kicked over, kicking the ghost shark away with precision. Bastard, bastard. The ghost shark vomited blood, glared at Kai fiercely, and planned to run away. Immediately afterwards, another guy who looked similar, but older, rushed over immediately. Kai, this is the support of youth. Boom. With another kick, the ghost shark turned over a dozen somersaults and fell to the ground. Most of the ribs in his chest were broken, and he looked up at the sky with a broken face. What are these? His mouth full of funny words. He actually fell into the hands of these 2 rare beast-like guys. Failed ninjas have no value. When the ghost shark has a seal, he will channel out a shark and kill himself. At this time, in his position, 2 arms immediately stretched out from the ground and grabbed his hands. A Shweni clone emerged from the ground, and in a way that the ghost shark couldn't understand, its body melted and merged into the ghost shark's body. In an instant, the ghost shark's movements stiffened. Swish! Zanyi fell in front of the ghost shark, and said lightly, "Dried persimmon ghost shark, right, I finally caught you, please give me more advice." Chapter 76 _ The Great Battle of the Eastern Front. The ghost shark rushed to the street and fell into Zanyi's hands. To make matters worse, a clone of something unknown was integrated into his body. He was seriously injured and lost control of his body. "I don't know who Oshweni, it's really scary, I didn't expect your subordinates to have this kind of strength." The ghost shark followed Zanyi stiffly, opened his mouth full of shark teeth, and said, "It's not wrong for you to lose, even if you are a tailless beast, it doesn't matter to me." Zanyi glanced at him, raised his hand and pointed, the part of the ghost shark that was bleeding continuously. A mass of flesh immediately appeared, stopping the bleeding. The broken ribs in the body were also corrected by the proliferating flesh and blood. "It seems that it wasn't Fuyu who defeated the tailed beast Jade before, but you. I really don't know whether to say my luck is good or bad." The ghost shark followed behind Zanyi, trying to find a chance to commit suicide, but whenever he moved, his body would not obey. A nuclear escape clone emerged from him, stretched his neck and stared at the ghost shark. "Give up, don't think about suicide, to me, you still have great value." At this time, Zanyi threw him a root mask and robe. "Put this on and pretend to be a root member to avoid inspection. I spent so much energy catching you, not for you to commit suicide. So, what do you want me, an enemy ninja, to do? Aren't you afraid that I will find an opportunity to assassinate you?" The ghost shark was controlled and put on a mask and robe. "If you can do it, welcome at any time. But if you want to kill me, you can only do it now. If you wait a few more years, even if you throw my ashes up, I can find a way to revive me." Zanyi spoke at will, took the ghost shark, and returned to the camp all the way. When the guard saw Zanyi, he immediately stood in awe, opened the door with a look of awe, and let the group in. "Master Shweni, I heard that you killed dozens of enemies. Many teams have been saved by you, thank you so much." Along the way, many people looked at Zanyi in high spirits. In the end, they returned to Shwani's tent, the others stayed outside, and Shweni went straight into the tent. Kazuki stayed inside with a painful expression on his face. From time to time, strange bulges appeared all over her body, as if something terrifying was wriggling in her body. Fortunately, it hasn't deteriorated to an uncontrollable level. Zanyi directly patted it and suppressed the violently proliferating cells. Gradually, Kazu returned to normal. She wiped the sweat on her forehead, fell silent, and whispered, "It was really dangerous just now, I felt like I was about to disappear and become a mass of unconscious flesh." "Don't worry, it's a normal thing. My strength is not so easy to carry. If it were someone else, it would be better to die." Zanyi spoke calmly. Fortunately, Kazu's talents were all focused on stimulating genes, and finally Indra's genes were initially activated. If it were replaced by something like Baluhu, even if that guy had the technique of Gaijera, at most, he could only weaken the cancer cells all over his body, and he couldn't control it. As long as he dares to use chakra, those cells will run wild in minutes. However, you really don't plan to transplant a new lens. If you have 2 eyes, it will surely stabilize your body further. Zanyi looked at Yue. A 3-column jade writing wheel eye is still a bit weak. I may have found a way to cure blindness, kaleidoscope writing wheel eye. If I can awaken these eyes, maybe I can solve the problem. Kazuki opened his mouth with a smile. Kaleidoscope. This thing is not so easy to come by. If you want to repair your eyes, a kaleidoscope is indeed possible. Even if the advanced itself cannot be cured, you can awaken a special pupil technique through a strong will. Madara's eternal eye can only be repaired after going blind. How should I deal with this guy, the ghost? It would be a pity to kill such a qualified ninja like this. Zanyi controlled the ghost shark to walk in. "It's you, We met again, and it seems that I fell into Zan Yisong's hands. Yue looked at this guy. HMPH, originally I had a chance to escape, but you people are so wrong, especially you. The ghost shark stared at Kazuki. How did the Uchiha family have such terrifying chakra and self-healing abilities? He recalled it again, the weird avatar that was integrated into his body. In a vague way, he seemed to have thought of something. Ghost shark, leave the false and bloody fog hidden, and serve me. The past you have been killed by me, and the new you only live for a brand new goal. Oh, this is a solicitation. You are a Konoha ninja, Shimura Danzo's disciple, in the core circle of Konoha, and you dare to solicit my enemy. The world itself is hypocritical, wars, killings, children displaced, and in this sick world, there are only two types of people who can live, those who issue tasks and those who carry out tasks. Zan Yi said calmly, I need you to help me. The ghost shark was silent for a while, then suddenly sneered and stopped talking. After the war is over, I will give you back your freedom. It is up to you whether to return to Wuyin or defect. When the time is right, I will tell you what to do. In order to achieve permanent peace, destroy this false hold. Zan Yi's voice was flat. If you follow my method, you can achieve this goal, because there is still hope in my method, and other people's methods are doomed to failure. Ghost Shark was still looking for an opportunity to commit suicide, and immediately sneered. Is that the only way? Just saying that these empty things are brainwashing me. When I meet you next time, I won't be merciful. If you can do it, you are welcome, but sooner or later you will come to me. Zan Yi raised his hand and pointed. A large number of meatballs began to multiply, wrapped in ghost sharks, and were stuffed into the ground little by little. Ghost Shark is the most ninja person among many ninjas, cold-blooded, rational, and persistent. Since he decided to use Madara to clear some obstacles and capture the tailed beast chakra, the power of the dried persimmon ghost shark can be used, so that he can mix some sand into the Shao organization. Time is passing. The confrontation between the two sides became more and more intense, and more information was obtained, and there was no need to endure any longer. On this day, a total of more than 10,000 ninjas from both sides gathered together, officially kicking off the decisive battle on the Eastern Front. After this game, the dawn of peace is not far away. Fuyu whispered. I hope so, I just hope that it can really be like what Lord Fuyu said. Zan Yi took General Team, Yue and others, stood in the team, and looked up into the distance. The chill of the decisive battle came, making people breathless. Three-tailed chakra. Suddenly, Zan Yi frowned slightly and patted his stomach in surprise. Chapter 77 _ available Friday. Will be on the shelves at 12 o'clock this Friday. If it is released on the same day, it will be updated 10 times first, and please support your book friends. Chapter 78 _ Radiation World. Godzilla likes chakra. Zan Yi knows this clearly. As long as there is a lot of chakra, it can attract Godzilla's interest. I don't know what the consequences will be if I cut off part of the three-tailed chakra and feed it to Godzilla. Zan Yi thought for a moment. Laoshu Godzilla is essentially a plant, 10 tails are plants, and chakra comes from 10 tails. Plants to plants, and they are all planetary-level life forms. If it is what I guessed, then I must also participate in the battle for the tailed beasts. Zan Yi squinted and looked up. Ahead, Kirige's ninjas have begun to gather in large numbers. The 3 generations of Mizukage, Yuenshi, Yakura, Wuyin senior leaders gathered together. We have an advantage in military strength. Konoha has about 5,000 people, and we have 6,000 people. They are fighting on multiple fronts, and no amount of troops will be enough. Furthermore, the 3 generations of Mizuying-sama hold the tail beast. Many Korean ninjas looked at the black-haired man with his eyes closed with fear and fear. The 3 generations of water shadows, bloody control the fog hidden. Lord Mizuying, that guy Jiraiya needs you to solve it. Master Yuan, the existence of Wuyin village second only to Mizuying, said in a low voice. Quote. After a few seconds, the third generation of water shadows gave a slightly dull, which made Yuanqi a little puzzled, but it was only able to suppress the doubts in his heart. Then let's go to war. Yuanqi and Yagura, lead the team to defeat the enemy, and the 7 ninja swordsmen are responsible for the assassination. The 3 generations of water shadows slowly raised their heads, and blood-red chakras suddenly appeared on the slightly stiff face. The half-tailed beast transformation was completed in an instant. This is the power of the 3 tails. Yakura, with a baby face, showed a hint of longing in his eyes, and then bowed his head respectfully and agreed. Don't look at him with a baby face, he looks very young, in fact he even has a son. Mist Hidden launched a charge. An endless fog appeared and rolled in, covering everything. Countless mists were hidden in the thick fog, and the killing intent pervaded. Although the vast majority of Kurigakushi ninjas are not proficient in silent assassination, they only need to be in the fog to take advantage of the location. Not to mention, the very few who know the silent assassination technique are simply killing gods in this environment. Faced with this offensive, Konoha ninja became restless. Damn, it's this troublesome dense fog again. Wind Escape Ninja, blow away these dense fog immediately. He also shouted loudly. Many Wind Escape ninjas began to work, barely blowing away the thick fog. Konoha ninja took the opportunity to launch an attack. The decisive battle of the Eastern Front battlefield broke out in an instant, and more than 10,000 ninjas started a tragic battle in the southeastern part of the Country of Fire. Every moment, a terrifying roar erupted, and various ninjutsu danced one after another, and every collision could take many lives. Lord Jiraiya, it's almost time for me to start. Zanyi stood beside Jiraiya, looking at the fierce battlefield in the distance. Zilai also nodded and said solemnly, use your blood secret technique as much as possible, and try to kill as many enemies as possible without affecting our ninjas. Sir Jiraiya, needless to say, I understand what you mean, and I will try my best. Zanyi nodded, he understood what Jiraiya meant. Zilai also positioned Zanyi as a poisoning machine with no emotions. Zanyi didn't need to rush to the front line, he just needed to stay behind and poisoned like crazy. The more people poisoned, the greater the credit. I can't guarantee that this battle is over, and in the end, it turns out that Zanyi has killed the most enemies. Xueni, you are very smart and know the significance of this battle to Konoha village. Zilai also patted Zanyi on the shoulder with a solemn expression. Zanyi nodded calmly, looking at the chaotic and fierce battle that began to break out, and at the battlefield where explosions erupted everywhere in a radius of hundreds of kilometers. I got one of the enemy's spells from Fuyu not long ago, so I can try it. He started to seal. Ugly, see, way, the original ninjutsu has only 3 seals, and it is AD level ninjutsu. The ninja of Korean called this technique the technique of hidden mist, then, my technique is called Nuclear Escape Secret Art Radiation World. The next moment, the water chakra in the body began to surge out, turning into a thick fog. The amount of chakra determines the concentration of the fog. But now, Zanyi went into the fog and tried his best to stuff private goods. Countless radiation clouds were quietly mixed in the dense fog, unable to be detected by anyone. No matter how you look at it, it seems to be the hidden technique of the Kirigase ninjas, and there is no problem. But in fact, these dense fogs have long been turned into a forbidden area for slaughtering everything and madly harvesting life. A thick fog spread out and covered the battlefield. Under the secret control of Zanyi, he began to desperately greet the shuffling misty ninjas. Every moment, a large number of radiation particles hit the enemy's body, destroying the enemy's cells. Vulnerable Konoha ninja, surrender. The name of blood fog is not something you guys who grew up in the greenhouse can understand. The thick fog that covers everything is the home of our Kirigase ninjas. The foggy ninjas looked crazy, they were in the thick fog, and their faces showed a look of enjoyment. Even if there are a bunch of Konoha ninjas blowing hard, they can't blow them all away in one breath, and a brand new fog will soon be created here. Where the fog is thick, drill where. Hey, the fog over there is very big, and it's close to Konoha, which is convenient for me to assassinate the enemy. The fog over here has dissipated, and we're going over there, and the concentration of fog over there is simply outrageous. The Kurigakushi ninjas laughed wickedly, shuttled through the thick fog very tacitly, and from time to time took action to kill Konoha's ninjas, and rushed into the thickest place. But, damn it, damn wooing, what kind of skill is only hiding in the thick fog? Is there a more shameless tactic than this? A Konoha ninja couldn't help cursing loudly. The next moment, a grinning enemy appeared, silently raised kunai, and stabbed him with a savage knife. But fortunately, he was blocked by his companions who arrived in time, and he survived this time. Oh, you can't be so lucky every time. The foggy ninja sneered and hid quietly. He, stupid Konoha ninja, this is the horror of our blood fog. As long as we are in the fog, you are all lambs to be slaughtered. A name Misty smirked cruelly, and when necessary, even gave up the attack and went into the thick fog exclusively. Drill through the thickest fog and kill the strongest person. Look at this terrifyingly low visibility fog, take a breath, the air is so fresh and delicious, the whole person seems to be floating. Is this the taste of victory? A misty ninja cruelly licked his own kunai, and then his face changed suddenly, and a mouthful of blood spurted out for no reason. Quote. Quote question mark exclamation mark. My body, what's going on? More and more guys squatting in the fog began to notice that something was wrong with their bodies. But when they noticed something was wrong, it proved that they found it too late. Chapter 79 _ just around the corner. More and more misty ninjas showed terrifying signs. Their bodies were hot, the speed of refining chakra dropped sharply, and their bodies were sluggish. Battle blood collapsed. What the hell is going on? I was hot all over. My heart was beating very fast, and it seemed like something was about to jump out of my chest. It's an illness, you're sick. That bloody nuke kid, beast. He's hiding somewhere to poison. This, poisoning in the fog. How despicable is this? Many fog-hidden minds roared, gritted his teeth, stared and searched around. The intermittent fog also blocked their vision. Instinctively, they still drilled into the thick fog, trying to prevent themselves from being targeted by Zanyi. But gradually, they discovered that the more proficient in silent assassination, the more dense the fog, the faster the death. On the contrary, those who are fighting fiercely with Konoha ninjas in the open space have less obvious symptoms. Leave the fog. The enemy is poisoned in the fog. I understand, that kid also learned the fog concealment technique, and then specially poisoned it in the fog. But, damn, wouldn't we elites who master silent assassination be abolished by him alone? Many fog hidden in the hearts of hatred. But feeling the worsening physical condition, he could only bite the bullet and fight the Konoha ninja in a place without fog. In just an instant, they fell into a disadvantage. The body, which was already radiated, kept collapsing, its combat power declined, and it was killed by Konoha ninjas one after another. The enemy took the initiative to walk out of the thick fog, and the strength has become weaker. It's Lord Schwenny. It's his secret technique. He holds a terrifying chakra poison. So that's the case, is it actually Lord Schwenny? It's great that we can have such a companion. On Konoha's side, the morale was shaken, and he roared and launched a frantic attack. For a time, on the hidden Kiri side, teams were defeated one after another. Bastard! How can I fight this battle? I don't need Konoha ninja to kill me. As long as I stand here breathing, I will die. Find that kid and kill him. If he doesn't die, this battle can't be fought at all. The more radiation that is swallowed, the weaker the strength of the Kuriga's ninja becomes, and it is enlarged to the entire battlefield. Even the slightest changes, under the constant accumulation, are affecting the trend of the entire battlefield. Jiraiya, who was concentrating on commanding operations, noticed these changes immediately. He saw that the moving fog had become a field that the Kurigakushi ninjas were afraid to avoid. As long as they moved over, the Kurigakushi ninjas hurriedly avoided with a look of hesitation and confusion. But in fact, even if they avoided, there were still radiation particles controlled to attack their bodies. Good job, Zanyi, is this your technique? Even that guy Hanzo might not be able to compare to you in terms of poisoning. Zilai also laughed, and slapped Zanyi's shoulder fiercely. No one knows what that means better than him. Combining the hidden mist technique with the secret technique of blood succession. This genius-like idea directly wiped out the enemy's most elite group of silent assassination troops that gave him the most headaches. Unless the enemy does not hesitate to use a lot of chakra to protect themselves, and then hide in the thick fog, this level of loss, on this large battlefield, is an act of seeking death. The situation is increasingly favorable for Konoha. Get ready, Lord Jiraiya, the enemy is going to make new countermeasures. Zanyi made a seal with one hand, and while constantly observing, he spoke calmly. What really determines the direction of the war is the shadow level combat power. And the shadow level on Konoha's side. There is only one Jiraiya on the bright side, and it is necessary to block the opponent's 3 generations of water shadows. Soon, the high-level fog hidden began to act. This poisonous smog is not made by our people. Combining poison and mist, that abominable nuclear escape kit is really annoying. 3 generations of Mizuying-sama, if we continue, our upper ninjas will still be able to support, and the middle and lower ninjas will die in large numbers. That kid is really scary. The threat to us by his special secret techniques has even surpassed himself to some extent. Come on, he must be killed in this battle. Master Yuan said with a livid face. The ability of that Shiranui brat is simply born to belong to the battlefield, and he must die. The 3 generations of water shadows paused, and the tightly closed eyes slowly opened a gap. At that moment that no one could notice, there were 3 hook jade-like things in a flash. Really, that self-righteous kid, it's better to kill it. Mizukage murmured. At the same time, he began to transform into a half-tailed beast and directly entered the battlefield, and he was about to create a tailed beast jade on the spot. At this moment, fire escape flame bullet. The technique of doubling. Jiraiya spewed out a huge flame. In the past, the guard of the 2nd generation Hokage, the elite who died in the Nine Tails Rebellion in the original book, took the wind from Chu Dao. I'll deal with you, I can't disturb the 3 generations of adults. Yakura stood in front of Chu Dao Kaifeng with an indifferent expression, and immediately shot. Wind escaped the art of weathering. All the dense fog was immediately broken by this technique. Is it to understand the art of fog and concealment? It's ironic, you guys would voluntarily give up your greatest advantage. Chu Dao Tofeng sneered, his huge palm snapped, and he fought with Yakura. At this time, Yakura wasn't even the 3-tailed man, but he was on a par with Tufeng. On the entire battlefield, the fierce battle continued, and when Jiraiya personally came off the field and killed the 3 generations of Mizukage, this battle was considered to be the most intense and cruel time. Juniorly, funny guy. 3 generations of Mizukage stood up as if nothing had happened, the 3 tails behind him kept swinging, and the almost substantive chakra brewed an amazing sense of oppression. 3-tailed people Zuli, it's really tricky, and this battle must not be lost. The technique of psychic. Fukasaku and Shima, 2 immortals, I will trouble you this time. 2 old toads, one left and one right, stood on Jiraiya's shoulders. I'm cooking, hey. They made a lot of noise for the old lady, now I'll try to help Xiaozilai. If the enemy is Ren Zuli, it's a good opponent. Fukasaku and Shima, the 2 toads glanced at the 3 generations of Mizukage in front of them. The 3 tails are still in a category they can deal with and defeat, it just takes some time. When they came this time, there were actually other things. The old man said that there are some strange creatures mixed into the trajectory of fate, which seems to cause catastrophic results, so let's find a chance to find out. What is it? Fukasaku and Shima looked at each other thoughtfully. Strange creature. What is it? What kind of creature can attract the attention of the old man who has lived for more than 1,000 years? Then, first defeat this guy without using the fairy mode. Zilai also felt the intermittent natural energy, and looked confident. With 2 immortals around, he has a whole card and can find an opportunity to activate the immortal mode. At this time, Zanyi suddenly raised his head and stared at Jiraiya's position. Those 2 toad immortals can draw natural energy. If the immortal technique chakra. Zanyi narrowed his eyes. Chapter 80_die. Xuanyi must master this kind of immortality, not for anything else, but for the ubiquitous natural energy. Chakra is something of the Otsutsuki clan, and natural energy is what the native ninja world has. Zanyi stared at Jiraiya, watching the shadow-level confrontation that broke out in an instant. One after another terrifying cracks swept away, tearing the earth to pieces, shaking the mountain. The power of this level of shadow is far beyond the limit of conventional Jonin, and it is very simple to change the environment of the earth. Everyone who was fighting felt this heavy pressure and started fighting more and more frantically. There were corpses everywhere. But anyone with a discerning eye can see that even though Wuyin has an advantage in military strength, it is falling into the disadvantage a little bit. Just because. The radiation world opened by Zanyi is constantly bringing down weak guys. Looking around, you can often see many ninjas suffering from the pain of Kurigakushi, screaming and falling to the ground to be killed. That kid, kill it as soon as possible. The Wuyin 7 immediately stared at Zanyi, slashing and killing all the way, and rushed towards Zanyi. But halfway through, they were stopped by Fuyu and Rizai. Don't think about going over so easily, guys of Wuyin. The 3-hooked jade in Fuyu's eyes twirled. The daily difference was a gossip empty palm, which knocked the Pippa Shazang into the air. HMPH, the 2 giants of pupil art. By the way, guys from Hyuga, I heard that the white eyes you lost were taken back by that kid. Is it really okay? The watermelon mountain puffer ghost kept sneering. Risai said solemnly, that's a matter of our Hyuga family, and you don't need to care. In short, if you want to touch him, step over my body first. Tisk, what a boring guy. The watermelon mountain puffer ghost immediately led the group of 7 to start, waving the shark muscle, and smashed it with a bang. More Uchiha and Hyuga clansmen came, desperately blocking the Kurigakushi 7 people. Hinata, widen the road. Zanyi glanced blankly, looked at the rushing ahead, and nodded slightly. Master Xuanyi, do we need to take action? Iruba asked, kneeling on one knee. No, you are not their opponents, the 7 people in the fog, not the enemies you can match. Mr. Dai, you go, I don't expect you to turn them into the 3 treasures of auspiciousness. You just need to block them, and at most you are allowed to drive to 7 doors. Zanyi gave the order. Dai solemnly agreed, although he didn't understand what the 3 auspicious treasures meant, but 7th door, shop door, open. Dai roared, his entire body almost burned, and the power brought by the 7 doors brought him unprecedented power. He turned into an astonishing rainbow and charged towards the group of 7 people in the fog. Drink. With a hard kick, he kicked it at the time. What a fast speed, who is this guy? Wuli Jinba waved his explosive knife and slashed horizontally. The next moment, Dai in front of him had disappeared, and by the time he reacted, he had already been kicked away by Dai. After smashing through several rocks one after another, he stopped in embarrassment. What's going on with this guy? Wooly spit out a large mouthful of blood with a look of astonishment. At this speed, he can't even react. Meidadai, Wan Yan Shanin. He actually has this kind of power, no wonder he dared to stand up to block the tailed beast Jade. Fuyu was startled, his face changed slightly, this should not be Dai Quan's power. The 8-door Dunjia technique. Is it actually so powerful? In addition to the surprise, the daily difference also felt a little palpitation. Meidadai is just a humble subordinate of Xuanyi. I didn't expect. I hope that after the war, the people of the Zong family will not be too impulsive. Everyone was shocked by the power displayed by Dai, but the one with a flexible mind had already thought of the person who was always in control of Dai and kept Dai low-key. I don't know who Oshweni, how much unknown power does he still possess? Looking at the eyes, on this chaotic battlefield, all of them gathered at this time and fell on the person with a calm face. A steady stream of fog emerged, and everyone knew that this was the forbidden zone for death. More and more people were in awe, and they were even more surprised and excited by the power that Zan Yi possessed. If Lord Shweni is there, we will definitely win. Stop those damn wooing, and don't let them disturb Lord Shweni. Hey, the more you fight, the weaker you are, so you want to attack Lord Shweni. What a joke, it's absolutely impossible for you to pass. More and more people began to gather together unconsciously. The closer to Shweni, the closer the enemy or the enemy was, the more tragic the battle that broke out. Even if you take your last breath, you have to grab a few detonating charms and die with the enemy. But in the same way, the closer to Shwani's position, the more terrifying the amount of radiation the Kirigaken ninja suffered, with pus growing all over his body, and he would soon die tragically on the spot. Gradually, the people of Hidden Kiri felt fear, and there were signs of sporadic flight. Run away, damn it, Lord Shweni is something you can touch too. Ha, without the mist hidden technique, you are like a bunch of ridiculous mice. Konoha's ninjas launched a furious attack. It seems that no one can get close to Zan Yi for the time being. This kind of scene seems familiar. I remember the last battle on the Western Front, it was like this. Kai couldn't help looking left and right, especially looking at his father's heroic appearance. He was extremely excited. This is the power of the 7 gates, this is the power of the 8 gates, and it is the power of youth. This is also something that can't be helped. It is common sense to protect our powerful long-range output. Zan Yi showed a faint smile, overlooking the battlefield. From the start of the war to now, how many people have died directly at his hands? There must be more than 200 people, if you count the indirect weakening and killing. Maybe it's over 1,000. Boom boom boom. 3 generations of water shadows, end this war, you have seen it, the war situation is not good for you, and if you continue to fight, it will only increase casualties. After Jiraiya made a fight with the 3rd generation of water shadows, he quickly stepped back and said loudly. That kid's abilities are interesting. The 3 generations of water shadows spoke indifferently, and under the half-tailed beast, a new chakra poured out wildly. No, this guy is going to become a complete body. Jiraiya's face changed, and his mouth was bitter. Fukasaku and Shima Immortal also felt a headache at this time. Immortal Shenzuo sighed. Jiraiya, to be on the safe side, let's use that technique, my wife and I will help you. There is no other way. If you don't use that technique and directly fight a complete-tailed beast, the risk is too great. Jiraiya gritted his teeth, clasped his hands together, and started to activate Immortal mode. But the moment he stepped back and began to absorb natural energy. On the 3rd generation of water shadows, a large number of new chakras that are constantly emerging suddenly stopped covering the whole body at this moment, but began to gather at an astonishing speed. Oops, this guy isn't targeting me. Jiraiya's face changed greatly. This is not to be completely tailed beast. This guy is inducing him to take advantage of the opportunity to activate the tailed beast jade. And the target of the tailed beast jade is Shweni Shiranui.